Good evening and welcome to the second round of our 1958 F1 Championship, coming to you tonight from Monaco for the 16th Grand Prix de Monaco. And one of, or if not the crown jewel of this year's championship, although I suppose looking at the version of Spa that they'll be driving later in the season, this could be the second jewel of the season. But with me in the booth I have Jason White. Good evening, Jason.
Good evening, Jonathan. How are you?
Not too bad, a little bit hectic here, but all in all, very much looking forward to this. And how are you?
I'm doing really good, thank you. I think we also have Alberto in the booth with us.
Yep, that's me here. Hello, everybody. Pleased to be here at Monaco with all the fashion, the good looks, and everything.
It's a bit odd to be at Monaco in February, but
It is. It certainly is.
But in any case, it's funny. My view of the track just cut to the crowd, and yes, many fashionable people here.
Well, it's part of the Monaco lifestyle, I suppose.
Yes.
Not at least for someone looking at Monaco from outside, not many poor people live there.
I think it was a quote from Sir Sterling Moss when he was interviewed here in Monaco, and a guy was trying to talk to him, and he said, "Wait, come on, I mean, come to Monaco and speak to men. Please excuse me," and he went away.
Well, looking at the track itself, it's a 3.145 kilometer lap, or 1.954 miles. I just think the shortest lap of the year, but also probably one of the slowest laps of the year. And our drivers will be running for a total of 100 laps around this grueling street circuit, which will equal about 314 0.5 kilometers. As you can notice, I've been refereeing and I'm a little bit tired in the mind.
Well, it's indeed the shortest circuit, but it's also the longest race of the season.
Yeah,
Indeed.
there are 23 cars that are going to start this race, and if you think there are going to be 23 at the end of the race, you are dreaming.
Yeah, sometimes we think we would be even lucky if we can fill the podium.
Well, they were very lucky to do so in, I think it was 1996, when Panis won the race, and I think only 4 cars finished.
I remember that race very well. It was
yep, absolutely.
It was great to see Olivier Panis get his first and only win. Actually, Monaco has been a home to more than one situation where someone won their only race here, but we'll get into that probably a little later. I got to say, the modeling on this track looks fantastic.
Yeah, we'll be seeing a lap momentarily here. I just want to quickly look at these driver standings and manufacturer standings for this 58 championship. After a spectacular drive last time out in Argentina, Johan Boos leads the championship on 8 points. Louis Stevens had a very decent drive there, kept out of trouble, troubled Juha late in the race, but couldn't quite find enough pace to pass him. Is second in the championship on 6 points. Equal third is Brian Yannick and David Junt, both of them surviving scarce in that race and picking up some good points. And fifth in the championship on 2 points, Tim Hiller, doing his best as well. And with the Manufacturers Championship, only 2 makes of cars finished in the points in Argentina. So that means Cooper is first in the championship on 8 points, and Ferrari second in the championship on 4 points.
And we should mention now that you say this about Juha leading and all that, and Cooper being there in the lead of the championship, that these are very different cars. I mean, this is a season where we still got some cars with the traditional engine layout in the front, as the Ferraris, Maseratis, and all those, and we got those Cooper cars that had already the engine in the back. Back then, it was considered in the wrong place, but anyway, they were very effective. But the thing is, they didn't have the power to match that. So they had a bit of a better handling, but they didn't have the power. So what this means is that Juha and all the drivers that have those cars, the Cooper engine cars, they have to score well in this track and in the twisty ones, because later on, when we get to the powerful open tracks like Monza, Sandward, and the like, they will be suffering a lot. So this is a struggle to keep the points and keep the championship challenge alive.
Quite so, and I'm just going through a few of the camera angles here, and we'll get some fantastic camera shots
I do not
around
believe
the track.
there is an installation lap. Am I right? We just go straight to the start.
No, straight. Yep.
All right.
Well, then Tim Hiller starts from the pole, and that's as far as I'll be able to go for now.
All right, everybody keep sharp. Should be an interesting start, especially when they get to the hairpin up here. Because remember, they start at this point in Monaco is where the swimming pool complex would be, and they're away.
Oh, and you are both with a great start. Tim Hiller with a great start too, and Stevens with a bit of a slow one. But it looks like Hiller will be in the lead in the first corner. As Jakes went in way too hot.
Oh man.
Well, that means it's that Wilmer Johnson up into fighting for second right now, and Fredriksson and Ferrari looking to get up the inside as well on the start-finish straight.
Everybody got through the hairpin cleanly, though, despite that.
There we are. So Jakes down to 6th, Fredriksson up to 5th, Bors in 4th, Wilmer Johnson up to 3rd, Stevens held on to 2nd, and Hiller leads. I see Hiller, Stevens, Johnson, Bors, Fredriksson. Then Yannick now past Jakes with Nilsson following, Del Piccolo, Canola, Batman, Fernandez, Ridol, Michiels, Rocha, and then too many cars going through. Chacon being passed by Saber there, and Watering rounding out the field for now.
Coming down through the iconic hairpin here by the hotel. Ooh, very tight running there with John Team sandwiched between a bunch of cars. But everyone being very careful and judicious on this first lap, I must say.
Indeed, and all the cars running through the archway here, coming down to the harbour. One of the things I at least would say we are missing in today's track. And here the most dangerous section of the track, the chicane.
Oh yes, very dangerous. Watching very carefully to make sure everybody gets through without any trouble. Looks like, oh man, someone on the brakes very hard, but everybody made it through. Excellent. And look at this, Lewis Stevens closing in on our leader now.
Definitely going hard, but so is everyone else. But it looks like he has to run. Not quite able to make it work though. Oh, maybe more. Hiller ran wide.
Yeah, I think Hiller might have had a slow exit from the gasometer hairpin there, and that allowed Stephens to catch up, but he's definitely with him now.
Certainly so, and Jonsson very nicely there, keeping a bit of a gap back, but running very well at the moment. In one of the older, I would say older cars. I think that's one of the BRMs that he is driving there.
Now they're heading into the tunnel here, which is much shorter than the modern tunnel that we're used to seeing at Monaco. It's got a circular profile to it, and it's changed quite a lot over the years. Into the chicane again.
Ooh, Hiller very wide there on the exit.
Hiller wide on the exit again. Yeah, here's Stephens. Stephens has got a run on him. He's on the outside, heading to the hairpin.
Possibly using the extra traction of that rear-mounted engine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he definitely he seems to be handling quite well in that portion of the track.
Now looking back from Tim Hiller's car, back at Lewis Stevens. Stevens having to have 2 goes going into what is effectively turn 2 on this iteration of the track. But here comes Stevens. Ooh! Had to run, but very, very smartly backed out of that, because that was a closing gap for sure.
Yeah, not the best place to overtake, but anyway, in Monaco, you need to do it wherever you can, because otherwise, if you don't get by, you might get stuck behind the car that is in front for the rest of the race.
Indeed, and it looks like, unfortunately, Francois Remen in the Bernie Ecclestone entered car has retired from this race.
And Jakes just overtook Jakob Fredriksson.
We did
He's
indeed.
making that well-handling Lotus pay off.
He's driving Dave Miller's Lotus, isn't it?
Yep. It's funny to look at the Lotus because it seems a car of a different series or even world when you look at it compared with the other ones.
Especially compared to, I think it's the Maseratis that are the really massive cars, and then you have the very, very almost toy car looks of the Lotus.
Here comes Stevens with a try on the outside going to the gasometer. But can't quite get it done. He's not in the right spot, although he's on the inside now. But not quite enough purchase to get it done. But he's definitely chomping at the bit. He wants to be in the lead.
Yeah, the question now is if he really has the pace without overheating the engine and overheating the brakes and all that, or if this is just a case of, oh, look at the guy in front, I can't overtake him, I need to have that lead.
The red mist, as it were.
Yep.
And we have also in the field, by the way, I have omitted to mention him early, Adam Hackman currently running 18th in one of the BRM's late entry to the race, but doing really well so far. Keeping it off the walls is no mean feat in its own call around this place.
Yeah, anybody who is still running is doing well, I can assure you that. Because this is such a tolling track, and it's going to make everybody pay dearly for it. Oh, I can't believe that Stephens is challenging into the tunnel. I mean, he really wants the lead.
Yeah, he's giving Tim Hillett no rest at all. And considering how far we have to go, that's pretty amazing.
Yep.
Let's see up on board behind his right
Oh,
shoulder.
look at that.
As Hillett gets really sideways. Stevens with a great run. Maybe he can go round outside this time.
But Hillett's got the right placement going into the gasometer.
Oh, but he's way
Or
deep.
that's what he thought.
Oh, but Stevens had to tighten the corner. And I think down this front straight of the modern track, Hille should have had to get the power advantage, but no. Stevens with the Climax engine in the back takes the lead.
Yeah, I didn't see Hille like closing the door violently or anything like that. I think that it's for him now a case of, okay, you wanted to lead, let's see where this leads you. No pun intended.
Yeah, Stephens clearly was handling better in several corners than Hillett was. And look at him now, he's right away pulling out a little bit of the cushion.
Indeed, and Jonsson and Yannick is closing in on Hillett in the meantime. Then Jakes has gotten past Bors down to 6th. Tightly followed by Ferguson and Nilsson. And then Del Piccolo, and then a big gap back to Canola in the very old Maserati car with Wattmann and Michiels 11th, 12th, and then another big gap back to Ray and Ruben Fernandez.
Yannick, look at Yannick now challenging Johnson. He's overtaking him in the tunnel. Amazing move there.
Very well done.
That's a brave move too.
I don't know if Johnson saw it coming and basically let him through, because otherwise it was truly amazing.
Honestly don't know, but I know
Maybe he missed a gear or something like that, because it looked to me as if Johnson was like a sitting duck in the middle of the tunnel. I mean, it was still a brave move, that's for sure.
it could be partly that, and partly isn't the BRM the heaviest of all the cars? Or does that fall to the old
See Bruno
Maserati?
Chacon in the pits.
Oh dear. So possibly with a bit of damage on the car then, being in this early.
Fredrickson having a look at Juha Boss here as they go into the first corner.
There we are. Boss a little bit sideways coming off the turn, but Fredrickson still hanging behind him.
And even if Tim Hiller just scored the quickest lap of the race, look at the lead that Luis Stefan has just built.
This is amazing, and it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, this is an interesting situation because Hiller just let Luis Stephens go by. He's minding his own business and doing his own race. But look at that. I mean, right behind him, Brian Janik is coming now really hot from behind. And Wilmer Johnson and David Jex is also passing there in the tunnel. It seems that this is a premium spot for passing today.
Yeah, would not have expected that.
No. Then come Juha Boss, Jakob Fredriksson, and Anders Nilsson.
Oh no, Boss hits the barriers! Oh dear. Don't. No one else hit him.
No, it was just that chicane, that dreadful chicane.
Whoa. Wow.
Did he go into the drink?
No, he actually stayed on the track upside down, but very lucky not to be collected by anyone else. So that's unfortunately our championship leader out of this race.
Oh, the car got out of shape just because of the chicane. It was in the braking. Yeah, that's what happened to him. The car got sideways at the braking, and of course, sideways against the barriers, it couldn't end well.
It's all it takes here at Monaco. One small mistake.
Yep.
And you're a bystander, watching the rest of the race.
Well, fortunately for our virtual racing, you can be the bystander. Back in these years,
yeah, exactly.
It could have been a little bit worse.
Yeah. Yeah, Lewis has definitely got a car that's suited to this track in terms of balance, in terms of handling. But Alberto's point is well taken. Is it going to overheat? Is he minding his temperatures? We'll see.
And obviously there's also the bit about the brakes. I mean, they will take a pounding, and the way they were driving early on had the brakes already taking a bit of a beating here. It's Jan Tim and Rocha, Hackman up to 16th now. Here comes Drexler and Watering, 17th and 18th. And then it's Francisco Amaral in 19th. And there comes David Saber, 20th at the moment.
Bruno Chacon back on the track in 22nd place. He will eventually be elevated to 21st, but any kind of a pit stop here at Monaco is not something you want to do if you have to.
No, indeed, because the nature of a short lap, even if it is a long lap, time-wise, it's still longer than a pit stop. Shorter than a pit stop to do a lap. And I believe now we are joined by our championship leader, Juha Boss. Really bad luck there.
Well, I probably braked too late. No, my fault. Don't blame anything else or anyone else. No.
At least you didn't need a scuba diving team to get you.
No, it looked good on the replay, I hope, but it wasn't what I planned.
Yeah, it looked very much like Evel Knievel. But fortunately, you are not suffering the consequences.
No, I was looking at the guy was managing everything nicely, and too late.
It's the same, Juha, because we were saying before the race start that for the Coopers, the cars with the mid-engine but low power, this was one of the tracks where you actually needed to score well to keep in the championship challenge, right?
Yeah, this track was perfect for us. I mean, Lewis is leading, although looking at the revs he's taking out of his engine, I'm not sure for how long that's going to last.
Ruben Fernandez, sorry to interrupt you. Ruben Fernandez has stopped there in one of the exits, and it seems that he's out of the race too. But yeah, sorry, go on. I mean, this was yes, indeed, one of the tracks for the low-powered cars that have good handling, like this and the Lotus.
Correct. This was a golden opportunity, but I lost one, unfortunately.
Well, it's one of those things, but at least, as we mentioned, when it happened to you, compared to back in the actual day, at least you can come back and have another go next time.
Yeah, I doubt I'd have survived that one in real life.
We were talking about the good handling cars, and there is David Jakes putting now some pressure on Brian Janik. And if Brian is probably looking at championship options, I don't think he will put much of a fight against David Jakes.
I thought here comes Jakes, but that Ferrari still has some grunt down that straight, so not quite.
Yeah, not the place to pass a Ferrari with a Lotus.
I don't think it's a place to pass a Ferrari in with any other car, to be honest, but...
yeah, unless you have a Fast and Furious red button with nitros or something like that. That Ferrari engine is going to sink his way all down the straight and leave you behind.
Definitely looks like that Lotus is very, very good on the brakes, so...
Extremely.
I would assume if he wants to do a pass, it would be down at the right-hander before the casino hairpin. If that's called a casino hairpin, I don't know, but the left-hand hairpin, the right-hander before that, would probably be his best choice, I think.
It's amazing the difference in profile between the Lotus and the Ferrari. They're just two complete...
It looks like a toy car, absolutely.
By comparison, yeah.
Might be that
Somehow
here he comes.
It looks like a speeder and a grasshopper. A red grasshopper and then...
And there we go.
Look at that, look at the spare.
Yannick deep. Jakes, hitting the curb there. Might still try to go around that side. Nope, okay.
No, but he's letting Yannick know that he's there and that the handling is so much better. I mean, that's a message that one driver is sending to the other one.
Indeed, and I believe the Lotus has the disc brakes compared to the drum brakes on the Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
So that taken into consideration too, I think Jakes is very well situated to get at least second place in this race, if not more.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we were talking about mind games. Jakes and Yannick are actually very good friends. They hang out together and they are always training together and all that. And this is a funny situation because Jakes is a one-off driver here. I mean, he's not in a championship run, unlike Brian Yannick. But this is a situation in the race where Jakes is having as much fun as he can with an inferior car, or at least theoretically inferior car. And this means that he's going to, well, drive the wheels off of that thing, have some fun. And if he scores, that's fine. And if not, well, he had a good time. And for Yannick, this is a mental game because he needs to keep level and not to enter that game of racing David Jakes. Because Jakes has actually nothing to lose here, where Brian Yannick actually has.
Indeed.
Oh, look at this. Coming down to the hairpin one more time. He's on the outside. Jakes is, but just doesn't have the grunt off the corner.
There's a very good three-way fight for 5th, 6th and 7th as well.
Between three Swedish drivers.
Indeed. Jonsson in the BRM, then Ferguson in the Maserati, I think. New Maserati.
Yes.
And
the Bonnier Maserati.
And then the the Van Wall in the hands of Anders Nilsson, probably the wisest driver in the field. Along with, I'd assume Ray is quite experienced as well.
Every time I see them going through that chicane at high speed, it sends shivers down my spine. I mean, this is by far the most dangerous spot in this track. By far. It's no wonder it was changed later on in the years.
It took them that long.
Wasn't there some kind of dramatic Formula 2 accident that happened there in the 70s that really kind of cemented the okay, we got to eventually change this?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I think someone took a dive that day as well. Unfortunately.
David Jakes all over Brian Janik now. I mean,
looking for
Brian
the right
Janik
spot. I wonder if that Lotus is as delicate as it probably was in real life.
Hopefully not.
We're only 11 laps into the race, but I'm sure we will learn about that probably not much later.
Generally speaking, if it would be like in the actual day, the driver would probably be happy to get this far indeed.
I remember a quote from Dan Gurney when Bobby Unser was actually quite enraged with him by some of his choices, and
oh dear!
Yeah, not enough traction. Well, traction probably, but not enough power there for the Lotus to go by. But Dan Gurney always said an eagle can be faulted by not being reliable, but it can be faulted by being slow. So in the case of the Lotus, I think Colin Chapman's quote was something in that regard, but with the lightweight. I mean, it can be faulted by braking, but not by being overweight and bad handling. And if we have to look at the screen now, I would say that Lotus is really beautiful handling here.
Yeah, no question about it.
Indeed, and someone else who's driving the car very beautifully at the moment is Gabriele Del Piccolo. Just noticed him four-wheel drifting it through turn 1 a little while ago.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about this race is that we are looking here at the top at the third, fourth, and all that, the usual fights for the podium, the honor, and all that. But this is a race where actually there could be a lot of dark horses. Many of the people that are running there behind, like the Olivier Panis incident that we were mentioning before, could actually be the ones at the top of the podium later.
Well, you can't discount anyone in this race. It's still only 20 minutes in.
Anyone racing here, anyone still alive, well, that's already to be commended, but also someone who could very well be fighting for corners later on.
Yeah, it's basically a survival race.
Considering this is just a little bit over a tenth into the race, hopefully the drivers
Jakes goes for the inside.
Yep. And there's that Ferrari horsepower.
Ooh, what a sideward action there from Brian Janik. It's funny that right behind them, there's Wilmer Johnson, Fredriksson, and Anders Nilsson quite close together.
Oh, David Yates now looking for a move up the inside. Here he comes in the place I thought he would, and that's a position gained. Yates up to third.
Wow,
that was a great move.
Yeah, but let's see how long that lasts, because this is going to look a lot like the last DRM race that we saw at the Norris Ring, and you can remember that very well.
Yeah, I didn't finish that one either.
You come to the straight, and when the power counts, it's one story. I mean, the turns is a very different one. Oh, Brian Janik there.
Well, Yates sideways too.
Four-wheel drifting inside the tunnel and coming out alive. That's already something.
Pretty much both of them doing that, but clearly Yates gets the power on very well in that Lotus and pulled away before the Ferrari could say anything.
Yep.
And Jonsson, Frakes and Nilsson now are slightly gapped between them because of a couple of lapped cars, Amaral and Sabre, I think. I think that was Amaral, Francisco, who had a bit of an oopsie up at the casino.
And with all this fight going on and Jake's trying to overtake Janik and Janik defending and all that, what we missed is that they are actually not that far behind Team Hille. I mean, look at that. Jake is already closer to Team Hille than he has Brian Janik behind him.
It's true.
That's bad news for Team Hille, because that's the number 3 Ferrari and Jake's just dispensed it with the number 4 Ferrari.
Indeed. And I believe Tim, generally speaking, is running I'll run the pace I'm comfortable at, and if anyone is quicker, then they are quicker and I'll let them by.
Well, the quickest guy out there right now is Luis Stephens, who just scored the best lap of 1.40.996. So he seems unfazed by anything that it's happening behind him.
That's a very quick lap time for basically race trim.
Look at Jakes now. I mean, that's a deja vu for him, because where did that new red Ferrari in front of me come from?
Yeah. Well, the difference now is that he'll have a big red Ferrari in his mirrors as well.
And if it's any comfort, he has done it once, he can do it twice.
Indeed.
Now looks like he's going for a possibility here. Maybe. No, he's going to...
No, but he takes a really different line to get a better exit.
From the corner, looking for the exit there.
He got a good exit, but once again with that Ferrari engine, that's a bit of a foregone conclusion.
Was on the inside and ready to drop the hammer on the Ferrari engine. So.
Oh, but he's very wide. He slightly nudges the wall there.
Yeah, contact.
Yates with a great run, but still not enough. But he is close enough for the same kind of pass he put on Yannick a lap ago. Or a couple of laps ago by this point, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a shame that Hille can see the broadcast, so to speak, because the proper thing to do, as Brian Janik did, is say, look, I'm not fighting with you, I'm fighting for the championship, and I'm just going to go quick. And whatever happens, happens. And if you go by, then fine. Congratulations. But Hille seems to have been pressured and getting a bit nervous by the situation.
Indeed, and Yannick not too far behind now, so I think Hille is the slowest of the three at the moment, taking some defensive lines. And here comes Yates with a good exit, but again, must be so frustrating.
Possibly a missed gear there by Tim Hille.
Yep.
Feeling the pressure.
And it is not easy to... It is not hard to miss a gear in these cars.
No.
And Yannick all crossed up on the exit of the chicane. Oh, here comes Yates with a great run. Hille very wide. He missed it. Either he let him go or he must have missed a gear. I'd assume the most likely is the second one, right? That he let him by.
Yeah, probably realized the situation we have been talking about. I mean, what's the point? I'm not even fighting the championship with this guy.
Possibly.
Yeah, and I mean, look at that. After all this situation, Hille had a big lead over Brian Janik, and now he has damage and Brian Janik on his toes. That's a lesson to learn. I think it was a great Carroll Smith that once said, once you are at enough level, driving level, skill level, so to speak.
Whoa, that was very nearly a retirement for Hille there.
Which is to the point of what I was saying. Once you are up to that level, it's 10% skill and 90% mental strength. And I think that's what's been happening to Team Hiller now. I mean, he was driving his merry way, doing the great laps, absolutely steady rhythm, not getting into trouble.
Janik.
And now look at that.
Dear me.
Another overtake in the tunnel.
Wow.
Yep.
That was a really brave one by Yannick on a similarly paced car.
Didn't let him through because he didn't even go for fourth gear in that on that straight.
Wow.
So you got to start to wonder about the handling of Tim's car now that he brushed the barrier. Is he fighting a car that's not handling properly now?
Oh, and
On
unfortunately,
cockpit view, the steering wheel seems to be straight, but you never know what's going on with these cars.
unfortunately, I notice now David Saber has retired in his BRM,
Too bad.
and it looks like it's a blown engine for him.
Whoa, that's very soon.
Because that is who sounds like he either had a gearbox failure or missed a gear going into the left-hander before the gasoline. And
In any case,
that.
the fight for third is over, but we got a nice, interesting fight here for fifth between two mate Swedes. Wilmer Johnson is there trying to defend and make the car very wide in front of Anders.
And Ferguson must have made a mistake then, because he's dropped behind Del Piccolo.
So no three-way fight between Swedes for now, but we will see what happens later.
Well, it could be 3 Swedes versus one fired-up Italian with Del Piccolo in between them now. A little bit behind this two-way fight yet, but knowing Del Piccolo, he can very definitely get closer.
Oh yes, you bet he will have prepared this race very thoroughly. Oh yeah, really, I mean,
Wow.
I get scared every time they get to that chicane.
I was going to say
And
earlier,
they're on the limit too, and they come through the tobacconist there. They're really letting it all hang out.
yeah. I was going to say, in touring car terms, that chicane feels very much like OS Nilsson has a good run out inside. But Jonsson with a slightly straighter exit looks like he'll hold on. In touring car terms, that chicane feels very much like the one at Knock Hill, which is Wilmer Jonsson is all crossed up but holds on to it. Wow. It's okay in that one. It's the case of you go over the crest and you have no idea what's on the other side, so you just hold on to the wheel and pray. It sort of feels like the similar here, where you don't know exactly what kind of entry you'll get. You're just holding on to the wheel and hoping that you come out the other side alive.
That had to have been a very frustrating run up Beaurivage for Nilsson, because with Wilmer getting all crossed up there, he obviously had momentum to go by, but that's really not an overtaking opportunity there, even in cars this narrow.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, even if things might look quite tight here, the truth is that these cars are much narrower than the ones that we got in later years.
And they would even be considered narrow by modern F1 standards, I assume. Looks like this Swedish duo is closing up to Watering for a lapping on the...
there goes Nilsson.
That's unfortunately a missed gear, I'd assume, for Jonsson. And Nilsson goes past. But considering it's a BRM, he could still have a go later on in the race, I believe.
And unless I'm mistaken, and Juha, who knows the engines better than me, might be able to correct me, we are seeing here cars that have the same engine. Is the 2.5 liter inline 4, both for the BRM and the Vanwall? Was that the Climax, the customer engine?
No, it wasn't this. From memory, it wasn't the same engine. The van wall has its own engine.
Is it more powerful than the
yes,
than
it
the
should be
BRM
more powerful.
actually?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think a little bit less weight as well. Overall.
Well, whatever the power difference, I think that Wilmer Johnson is going to miss it very quickly because Gabriele Del Piccolo has now decided that it's about time for him to be revealed in this race. And he just scored a best lap of 1.42, which is 2 seconds behind what the poleman is doing. Well, the leader is doing. But in any case, I mean, he's been steadily improving. And I think that is showing a quite good preparation of the race.
For sure.
Yeah, he's definitely much closer to Wilmer Johnson than he was 1 lap ago. And Wilmer now has to forget about catching up with Anders and start to think about the red problem that is coming up from behind.
He had a good exit from Sandovat there, Wilmer. Seems to be driving with a little less sideways action than he has been in previous laps. So.
Yeah, and I would like to point out, to stress for the people who are watching on the broadcast and all that maybe don't realize what's going on here in some extent, that the drivers here are not just trying to go very quick and overtake and all that, but they are managing the engine and managing the brakes, because there are big problems with overheating the engines in this track, not to mention the huge problems that you got with the braking here. So it's incredibly amazing how these guys are going inch by inch, forcing the limits, always trying to hover that delicate balance where you don't overheat the engine or the brakes too much, and yet you are getting closer to the car in front. I mean, for me, it's an incredible balancing act, and my hat is off to these guys.
And it's also two other things. One, they have 3 sets of tires for this whole event, so that could also play a part in all of this later on in the race. And with the balancing act, you also have the balancing act of keeping the car between the barriers that we saw with the Del Piccolo going into the chicane. He was tucked up right to the right side edge of the track, just about scraping past the left part of the chicane, then just past the right side of the chicane, and then hanging the rear out, just not scraping the barrier, protecting him from going into the sea itself.
Yeah, that's precision driving for you. I mean, lap after lap for the whole 3 hours of this race. It's amazing.
Especially also considering they are on bias ply tires, right? Which means they have rough, I'd assume, like maybe at best 2/3 of the grip you would have with modern road tires.
Well, and not just that. I mean, when you're on bias ply tire like these old ones, you have very big slip angles. So what this means is that when the car is cornering, the tires get stretched, and stretched big time. So, and this is the funny thing, you have to calculate, you have to anticipate a lot what the car is going to do when it is at speed. So if you're going at very low speed, the tire doesn't get so much stretched, and therefore you point with the steering wheel to the corner, to wherever you want to go, and somehow the car is going there. But once you are really at speed here, in the fast corners and all that, the tire gets stretched, and that means the car gets sideways. It's not sliding, it's drifting, but at the same time you are not really pointing where you are going. You are pointing to an imaginary place, an imaginary point that is getting the job done, but is absolutely not the same that you would be doing at slow speed. So it's really a balancing act. You are like walking in the rope here.
Oh, give credit to Wilmer for keeping ahead of Del Piccolo so far.
Yep.
Definitely so. Especially with the BRM, which we saw was not the car to have in Argentina last time out. Wilmer definitely making good use of it, and likewise I notice now that another red car is closing in. That's Fredriksson in the Maserati, was it?
Yes, it was
Yes,
right
it is.
250, yes.
And he's definitely putting that to good use too. He's really been closing in these last couple of laps.
Lewis Stevens' engine seems to have given up.
Oh no!
It's our leader.
It has. He's coming to a stop at the tobacconist just after.
Yes.
Well,
Lewis Stevens out of the race.
That's a fitting place for a smoking engine, unfortunately.
And that's the explanation of the pace, I guess.
Well, when we started the race, I wondered how we could keep up that pace because I was managing my engine.
Yep, now you know.
I couldn't. No.
I suppose
And
it's
Hagon, that puts David Jacks as leader now.
I suppose
With
that
the same engine.
Indeed.
No.
I suppose that could be a case of maybe he felt he would be nowhere anyway if he just looked after it, so he just went for the glory of leading the race, and then it'll last the amount of time it'll last.
Yeah, but man, we're not even a quarter of the way into the race.
Yeah, that's a very early retirement.
Oh my goodness! Luciano Rosa just got all crossed up going into the casino. But I think he's going to be okay.
And I guess for all the guys who have been carefully managing the tires, keeping a cool head, and watching
Fredriksson has just overtaken Del Piccolo for 6th.
Oh, okay. And watching the cars go out into the horizon, this is like a comforting situation. Because many will by now probably be starting to realize that the proper strategy was actually taking care of things.
Someone who, at the moment at least, is not looking to be taking care of the car and the tires itself is Fredriksson, who's absolutely flying. Possibly angry with himself for the slight mistake that put him further back than he should have been.
Yeah, but this is the interesting thing here, because you have to be so conservative and constant in your pace that if at some point you are like angered, frustrated, or just willing to go quicker, you have a lot of room here to be quicker, okay? But the thing is, you're going to pay dearly for that later.
Almost looks like Del Piccolo might be in trouble because he is slowed down considerably.
Yeah, maybe he just realized that the engine was overheating.
Could be. I suppose we'll have to wait and see what transpires there, but Jonsson now in another Swedish fight, but with Fredriksson instead.
Yeah, and it's a shame that from cockpit view we can see the RPM gauge, tachometer, but we cannot see the oil temperature and water temperature gauges, because that would be really telling of what is going on.
I suppose the way to look at it is that the commentators back in the day wouldn't know either, so the battle is on.
They were looking at the race in black and white, so...
Partly, the I would assume the commentators would have been there to watch the race live and then talk about it back.
Well, Fredriksson.
It was just a joke, Jonatan.
I know, but I'm just trying to make it... oh dear, I think Del Piccolo just struck the wall coming out of that right-hander back there.
Well, Fredriksson's right with Wilmer now and might make an overtake in the tunnel here. In fact, he does. Yeah, there, he overtook him just as they entered the tunnel.
It definitely looks like Wilmer is running his own race, more or less. As soon as someone shows a wheel, he'll move over for the time being. Just happy to keep his pace that he's comfortable with and see what breadcrumbs fall off the table for him later. But very well driven so far. Now Hagman up to 14th, although being lapped, but very nicely done for having had roughly a day of practice, I think. Which should be way too little for this particular track. Nielsen 4th in the van wall. We have Tim Hiller holding on to 3rd at the moment, 3 seconds off Brian Yannicken's 2nd. So the two Ferraris still going very strongly. And obviously Yates now in the lead with the demise of Stevens. And as you say, what will happen engine-wise for Yates? Will that climax now last or not?
And it seems that Del Piccolo has now recovered a bit. He's again closing up with Wilmer Johnson and Jakob Fredriksson. And it could very well be a case, as I had mentioned, of the engine overheating, then you needing some laps to cool it down, and then being able to hammer it again. Oof. Man, Del Piccolo is like leaving absolutely no room there in the chicane. Those hay bales, I think they will be a good inch thinner when the race has ended.
For sure, for sure.
So they will be shaved properly.
And I notice, just as I'm looking further back in the field for the moment, as the battles are calmed down a little bit, Kiyomi Keels, Mr. Sideways, a style that wouldn't fit this track, but he's being a little bit restrictive in his driving style at the moment, and holding on to 8th, which is a very nice drive for him.
Well, we might make some fun about it, and he's the first one who puts the sideways in his neck and all that. But he's a guy with tremendous amount of Grand Prix Legends experience and driving with these old cars. So I would really expect him to do well here. And Chacon is in the pits again.
Oh, so that
Am
was
I right
yellow.
in that?
Oh, watering.
Yep,
Oh, without a wheel, even.
Oh dear. So that was
Now
that.
he got it again.
So that must have been the yellow flag I saw earlier.
Yep.
And I would say, likewise, really good drive at the moment is Ray Riddle in 9th in the second van wall in the field.
Bruno seems to have lost his wheel, breaking himself in the final hairpin, or the first hairpin.
Ah, that's unfortunate.
So good for him, it was close to the pits.
Yeah.
And they've put another wheel on.
Yep, he's not giving up. I mean, you can say many things about Bruno, but he's certainly not a quitter.
No, definitely not.
And as a non-quitter myself, I feel very honored to have him in the field.
Yeah, Bruno had a lot of excellent results last year,
Indeed.
and a lot of it had to do with his stick-to-itiveness. He just would not quit. He just kept going.
Especially
He's an older guy, and he also is very proud of having a grandson, if I'm not mistaken. And
Correct.
I wish when I had grandsons myself, if I ever have, that I can be as steady and quick as he is. That's for sure.
Definitely so.
I mean, that will be even quicker and steadier than I am now, so that will be an improvement.
Well, maybe just like Bruno, it's a bit like fine wine. With age.
Nice fight in any case between John Tim and Luciano Rocha here. John Tim overtook Luciano some laps ago, and now it seems that Luciano, with a cooler engine, is hunting down John for that position.
And nicely done by Amaral there, leaving a lot of room for them to go around outside. Yep. Just to round things off here, Thiago Canola currently 10th in the older Maserati, so really good job getting that into the top 10 around this place. Simon Wattman 11th, and then that fight for 12th and 13th between Tim and Rocha. Although here comes Nilsson, so Rocha will likely let him by here. He does.
Looks like some of the retired cars are being parked along on the pit straight there.
I think that's Chacon.
Oh, that's
for
Chacon
repairs still.
in for repairs, I see.
Hackman still 14th, a nice drive for him in that BRM with little practice. Drexler in the third of the van was currently 15th and doing a good job keeping the car straight and between the barriers here. Well, to be fair, it's between the barriers and the pavements and the parking spots and people. Because compared to nowadays where there are barriers everywhere, you can only stay between pavements. On this older running of the race, you could actually run on top of the pavements. And obviously risk a puncture if you hit the pavements wrong way.
Not to mention all the exposed light poles.
Indeed.
And trees in some cases.
And then you can go eat ice cream like Kimi Raikkonen.
Quite.
Oh, Gabriele is now, well, either signaling pits because he wants a repair, or or maybe it's just one of those things where the game kicks and decides that you need a pit stop.
I'm going to be willing to bet on the latter.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see what happens because he's down to the hairpin now.
And Chacon meanwhile back out again, which is nice to see.
Here's something interesting. Nilsson overtaking...
No. He's in for the pits. He's in for the pits.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, probably he was not happy with the handling. He wanted the repairs. It was not worth keeping the car in that shape in the track. Well, that's going to be a long pit stop.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, if it's a case of running with a damaged car and risk crashing it because you can't keep it under control, or take the pain and still be able to finish the race and maybe still in the points with the way Monaco usually takes a few drivers with it along the race distance.
There's another quality driver we haven't been talking much about in this race, which is Thiago Canola, who is now currently in 10th. I mean, not the greatest position anyway, but I think he's having the race that he loves because there's like nobody there in front, nobody in the rear. And he's a guy that can go really, really quick and steady if he's able to concentrate and not be fighting around. Mind you, he will be able to fight with people, but he really prefers to be like Sebastian Vettel style, absolutely going on his own.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Canola in the top 5 or close to it by the end of this race.
Yep. Me neither, because he's very well the dark horse in this race.
And he may have a fight on fairly soon because coming out of the pits not far behind him, a couple of lapping cars in between, but Del Piccolo roughly 5-6 seconds behind him.
Indeed. With the repairs and I guess fresh tires.
Oh, unfortunately, I notice now Francisco Amaral has been forced to retire the car with a blown engine in that BRM as well, unfortunately.
That must have happened very recently.
Yeah, that happened coming out to the second
second
turn.
Going uphill.
And I don't know if you mentioned it, but Bruno Chacon is back in the race.
I did, indeed.
Okay.
Thank you for the reminder.
18th place and 6 laps down, but still going.
Which could very well be a podium at the finish.
Correct. We still haven't done 1/3 of the race. Only 31 laps.
Oh!
Left, so.
Anders Nilsson!
No! Oh, with a
It's
spin.
fun coming out of the hairpin. I don't think he was intending to pit. I don't think, but no. Okay, he's out of the pit zone. Yep, but he got a spin. Oh, joy!
Oh, went it a little bit hot, already sideways, and then as he put the power on, it just snapped.
No, and Jacob is now right behind him, and the blood in the water probably is meaning something.
For sure, Ferguson will have noticed the yellow flag, if nothing else, and that's enough for any driver, really, to say, right, let's go.
Some very lucky spectators there, too. He managed to spin it around and not hit anybody.
Indeed, and Wattman getting right out of the way there.
Yeah,
so I
some
think
people with a death wish here.
Indeed, and I think
ending around Monaco.
I think that makes for the most Swedes in any Formula 1 race ever or event, with the four that we have here tonight. Even though virtual, it's still
good point, Jonatan.
A kind of record, I suppose.
We should look into that. The biggest number of Swedes in one Grand Prix.
That could be a trivia question for another race.
Oh, shame, because I was about to look for it. On the other hand, we could reward our viewers if somebody can actually remember the answer I come up with.
That would be one option as well.
I will delve into the archives.
Cheers. Oh, and here comes Ferguson.
Wow!
Oh
my goodness.
Oh, will he stay out of the barriers though? He did, just I think.
Oh,
wowee.
Massive save.
That was one of those the Italian going the Italian in him going, let's go for it, and then the drum brakes on the car said, please don't. And just
basically
about
what I tried at the chicane. Didn't work either.
And I was just about to say, let's look at the trivia question, but I think we'll hold off for another few laps here.
Oh, we've got plenty of laps for trivia.
Yeah, it's pretty early for the trivia question.
I was more thinking that would have been a nice segue, but the segue was interrupted by an even better one.
Yeah, in this race, the trivia question, people, I mean, it's so long, people don't even need to look it up in the internet. They could even look it up in the encyclopedia. So.
Quite.
Wow. Apparently, Formula 1 drivers from Sweden is a page on Wikipedia.
Of course. We are proud people. Old Vikings, you know. Maybe not always as quick as the flying Finns, but occasionally very quick race drivers.
And meanwhile, because we haven't talked about him for some time, David Jakes is there in the lead, unfazed with the Lotus. Best lap of 1:40.2. But the last lap was, let me check that, okay, here. 1:42.2. That means 2 full seconds off his fastest lap, and indeed indicating that he's taking things easily.
I would not be surprised if he's driving either to a set pace or to a pace where he's keeping more or less the distance between himself and Yannick at a relative equal time.
Yeah, the best lap of Brian Yannick, second qualified, is a full 1.5 seconds behind. But don't be fooled by the quickest laps, because we know for a quick lap you have to overheat the engine, overheat the brakes and all that. So that doesn't mean that is the pace that you can keep for the whole race, not to mention for even a couple of laps. But yeah, lap 33, I guess we can call it like 1/3 into the race, nearly.
Correct.
And the battle is now on before Canola. He now has Del Piccolo very much in his mirrors.
Yeah, he's having a look on the outside here at the hairpin, but not well placed. Unless he can get the power down. Nope. Canola had a little bit of a slip there, but...
Del Piccolo likewise, unfortunately for him. Oh,
Although,
but here he
look at this,
comes.
Yeah. He's got a roll. Heading into... and he's got him. Look at that.
Ooh.
Oi, oi, oi. He got a tap, a love kiss from Canola. But that thing, I think it was a misgear when Del Piccolo came out of the turn.
Definitely
And Canola
possible.
was not expecting that.
Oof, Jacob Fredriksson has retired.
Oh, no.
And that looks
that's and Del Piccolo just glanced off the wall at Mirabeau very, very hard, and it was not a brush. It was a big clunk. So we got to keep an eye on him to see if his car is in Bristol fashion, as they would say.
And that was unfortunate.
Well, and I think that was Canola's theory correct. He's not getting involved into fights because, as we say here in Spain, pick a chair, sit, and
wait.
Sooner or later you will see the dead body of your enemy go by.
That seems a very passive way of living for Spanish.
But it works. Well, actually, we lost an empire, but that has nothing to do with that.
Maybe it did. Then again, the Italians attacked and they lost it as well. So something to say for both attitude. You didn't waste effort.
That's true.
Well, that was unfortunately a blown engine for Fredriksson.
Oh
no!
no!
Italian stallions going out, but on a positive note, I suppose, in a way of looking at it, that means Michiels is up into 6th.
Yeah, and I mean, even if back then obviously, they did not have any real-time info and all that, at some point they would realize that some or many of the other cars were basically quitting with broken engines. So I think that for all the drivers that are still there out running, with only 30-something laps covered, this should be a stern warning that no, you are not going to be racing here, dropping the hammer all the time. You really need to take care of the engine, of the brakes and everything, and it could very well be rewarded at the end.
Very much so. And it means Simon Wattmann is now up into 10th, but fairly closely followed by Jonatan.
Got a yellow flag at the chicane here, but I don't see anybody in trouble. Watching in a very kind of awkward situation here.
I seem to have found the answer to your Swedish question, Jonathan.
Tell me more, tell me more. As Brian Yannick lets Nilsson pass, looks like Yannick is heading for the pit lane.
He does.
Wow. Oh, that looks like a slightly crabbing car, so I wonder if he has hit a barrier somewhere.
Might have.
I will check in the replay if he's hit something solid, because he'd been doing the last lap cruise speed.
And Janik's in the pits too.
Yeah, that's the one.
Janik actually hit the straw bales the exit of the chicane.
Ah, so maybe that was the yellow you saw earlier there, Jason.
Possibly.
But that means Anders Nilsson up into 3rd for Van Wall.
Slow and steady.
Van der Well Products. And Wilmer Jonsson.
Van Wall.
And Wilmer Jonsson for the Owen Racing Organization, or BRM as it was more people called, is up to 4th.
Yes, and if KO overtakes the standing Janik, he gets into the point scoring positions.
Wow.
And he's doing that right now.
Yep, there he goes. Yep, KO up into 5th place now in his very characteristic yellow car.
Definitely can't be misidentified by anyone.
Definitely not. And there's another yellow flag for some reason. The start-finish straight.
I think it
That's
does
because
that.
a car is sitting in the pits.
Okay.
It does that automatically for some reason, but mainly I think just to warn anyone to get too close to the pit wall.
Yeah, because exactly because there is absolutely no separation here between the pits and the racetrack, which after all these years is amazing that didn't cause a bigger accident. But no, probably because there were so much bigger accidents due to other issues that they didn't have the opportunity to hit anything in the pits.
Indeed. So the answer to that question I had, Juha, what is the question to the most Swedes in one single Grand Prix?
It's actually shared by 4 Grand Prix.
Oh, okay.
And you only need 4 drivers for it.
Oh.
Well then, we beat the record today. We had 5.
Yes.
Even.
The most recent time it happened was the 1974 Swedish Grand Prix, obviously.
Oh, of course.
With Peterson, Wissel and Roos, who celebrated by all retiring. And the previous 3 Grand Prix had Wissel, Peterson and Bonnier, all 3 in them. It was South Africa 71 and USA 70 and 71. In both US Grand Prix, 1 Swede got a podium.
I'd assume Bonnier once and Wissel once.
No, it was Peterson third in USA 71 and Wissel in 70.
Okay.
I think Bonnier had already, passed his prime by then, running privateer equipment.
I suppose one could say so, but...
Oops! Del Piccolo nearly spinning there in the hairpin.
I'm sure your statistics look better than Belgium anyway.
Yeah, good old Joe Bonnier. Unfortunately killed at Le Mans in the late 70s.
Early 70s already, unfortunately.
Oh, early indeed. As Del Piccolo slightly knocks on the wall and at Sandervat.
John Team now signaling pits. Let's see again if this is a game issue.
And meanwhile, I should correct myself. Belgium has done better than Sweden. Sorry.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
We managed five drivers in the Belgian Grand Prix in 52.
Okay.
And another 5 in 53.
I'm not going to ask you about Spanish drivers in Grand Prix because it's going to be a tragedy. So
it'll be, I think, 2 winners.
Well, Spanish driver getting together in the Grand Prix, I think more than 2, it's going to be hard to find.
I think one at
I think so,
two,
yes.
I think 2 at a time, yeah, because you had...
Several times there were 2, but
yeah.
more than 2, I don't think so.
Because I know for sure Alonso and
De
La Rosa, right?
Yeah, or Sainz or Genet,
True.
but more than 2, I don't think so. Motorcycling, that's a different story. Yep. It's nearly owned by Italian and Spanish drivers.
I suppose the Mediterranean weather has something to do with that.
It could be.
With the
I'll dive into that, Alberto, and I don't think there's much to say about it.
with a much warmer weather, making for a much nicer ride. To get your eyes up for how fun it can be to ride a motorcycle. Because I know at least in Sweden it's nearly always very, very cold to be on a motorbike. No matter the time of year, unfortunately.
Well, our motorcycle riding, Kenny Roberts once said that it was the most fun thing that you could do with your pants on.
I would dare to say that doing folk race equals that.
Could be. That's
but
also a good school for driving.
Of course, that's what I mean.
But relating to our field, for example, I should say, because I've talked with him about this many times, Anders Nilsson, for example, is an ex-motorcycle rider. I mean, he has had a lot of experience and all that with big motorcycle even riding in real life. And maybe that helps because we know that people who have been good at motorcycles have been also later very good car drivers. For example, we have not just John Surtees, who was obviously champion in both disciplines. We got Mike the Bike Hellwood, and we also got Bernd Rossmeyer, who had been a former motorcycle Grand Prix rider. And that's the way that he said he was able to get to grips with the Auto Union, that car that everybody hated except him.
Interesting.
Well, they have a perfect balance, actually. Feeling for balance.
You better have.
No, but you develop that on a bike. I mean,
Yeah,
that's it really helps.
And that's one of the reasons Colin McRae was so successful as well in rallying. Having started
Did you
out
know,
in dirt
by the way?
bikes.
Okay, again, trivia question on the fly. Who of the modern Formula One champions, also has a background in motorcycle racing?
How far back are we talking modern?
In the 90s. Well, that's modern for me. Sorry, I'm old.
Well, 90s.
Yeah, there were not so many champions in the 90s, okay? So let's see. Which one started actually motorcycle riding before he even took a car?
And this is in the 1990s.
In the 90s, yeah,
Wow.
early 90s.
It's a tough one.
I'm not good on early 90s. Had you said mid 90s forward, I could have gotten this, but
Yeah, someone got it in the chat already.
congratulations to
Enlighten
Alan
us, because
Santo
I don't
then.
know.
Damon Hill, actually.
Indeed.
Oh, I forgot him completely.
Canola had a sideways moment there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not a
And,
nice
and
thing
as
to say.
as our own Richard Coxon says, his mother asked him to switch. Like, oh, Damon, do
Oh,
something that is
no.
less dangerous.
Keomi Keels has retired.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's too bad.
And what is the reason for the retirement?
I'm trying to check now, but it looks like it happened quite a while ago.
We're too busy archiving.
Indeed.
Well, you can keep on broadcasting, Jonathan. I will try to find the cause.
Thank you.
Just keep with the current state of affairs.
That's really unfortunate for him. He was having a great race. But that
Meanwhile,
means...
Alberto will be pleased to find out more Spaniards than he expected.
Well, just before you go through that, Ray Riddle is in 5th, but he's closely followed by Del Piccolo, so the battle could be on for the points.
Well, I'm still trying to find Keo's retirement. So.
It's
says
listed as
engine.
engine.
Yeah, and I confirm it's engine. It goes to a halt.
Mm.
We've also lost John Team to his engine.
Oh no.
Yep.
That seems to expired in the pits.
That's 5 retirements now so far.
Yep.
A bit more than 5. 1, 2,
That's
3, 4, 5,
6.
6, 7,
Oh,
Yep.
9 total then.
9.
9 total. Good grief. Oh, I see. I'm looking at only the top 20.
Yep. And mark my words, we could see today Steady Bruno in the podium.
We could. Don't discount him. Never discount him.
Never.
As we said earlier, never discount any driver who starts a race at Monaco. Not
Oh,
until
we
they
all stand a chance
either,
to win.
not until either it's a retirement or the race has finished.
Oh, look at Del Piccolo right on the back of Vidal as they're going through the hairpin.
I mean, one of those other races where a very surprise winner could have been was 1984. In the absolute monsoon conditions that year offered, and the Tollman in the hands of Ayrton Senna steadily rose up the field and was fighting for the lead, nearly start to fight for the lead when the red flag was flown.
Well, 1982 wasn't bad either. I can't remember how many lead changes that had in the final 5 laps.
True.
I'll keep it to many.
Easiest way to do it indeed.
Yeah, well, they only officially record once every lap.
Oh, yeah. While we were talking, that's a good fight between Del
contact.
Piccolo and Ray Riddle.
Yep,
Del Piccolo
contact
really
between
wanting to
those
get
two.
by, Ray not quite wanting to let it go.
Oh, man, that was a couple of brushes there with the barrier for Del Piccolo. Dang.
I believe Ray is, while he's not exactly defending hard, he is driving his race and not making it easy for Gabriele, shall we say, and
Look
Del
at
Piccolo
that! Look at
definitely
how
trying.
quickly Del Piccolo gained the ground back.
Indeed, I would assume Del Piccolo is driving the car way harder than Ray is forcing his van wall at the moment.
Let's see what happens now with the dive into the hairpin. Del Piccolo looking for some leverage there. Understeer coming out, which seems to indicate he was really early in the throttle, pushing the front wheels. Now that doesn't get you anywhere. Probably it calms down your anxiety a bit. That's a better proposition. Four-wheel drifting around the corner.
Oh no, another retiree just now. Michael Drexler has retired. Looks like another engine by looks of things, trying to exit the hairpin and no drive.
So that makes 10 now.
Just coasts to a halt. Which means August Watering now up into 12th.
Wow.
Hackman 11th. Rocha up into the top 10. Wattman 11th. Yannick 8th at the moment after his repairs earlier. Canola 7th, trying to chase after Del Piccolo, who's likewise chasing Ray still, with Jonsson in 4th, Nilsson 3rd. Tim Hill is still in 2nd, and Jake still leading. But the gap between Yakes and Hille has gone down in the last few laps.
The Piccolo trying to get close to Rudol again.
My goodness, even closer than that. That's
Oh
going to
no!
be
Oh
inside.
no! Oh
A mission by Ray!
Yeah, Ray's out of the race. You can see the
That's
black smoke
painful.
no! Oof.
That is really painful.
And to add pain to injury, he got hit by Canola, who could be carrying a little bit of damage from that. Sorry, Del Piccolo, who could be carrying some damage from that as well.
Yep.
Well, that's really unfortunate for Ray. He was doing a great job, and I think just trying to go a little bit harder than what the engine could do, and possibly missed a gear that time. And
Yeah, although
missed
at
another
this
one
point
early
with
in the
all
lap
the
as well.
engine, although at this point with all the damage that the Piccolo's car got, maybe the tap even got something straight.
could
You
be.
never know.
And as we seem to a break now, I'll answer your question about Spanish F1 drivers, Alberto.
Yep. So it seems that Richard got it, and it's 3 actually. Amazing.
For Spanish,
Yep.
correct, in 25 races in total.
Alger, Suari, Alonso, and De La Rosa. Yeah, they
And
were
yes,
together in
correct.
2010.
In 14 races together.
2
all three of
Catalan
them.
drivers and an Asturian one.
Yes, and in 2015 there were Alonso, Sainz, and Meri. For
And
10
who?
races.
Roberto Meri. Okay. Right.
Yes,
I had
11
forgotten
races
about
in
that
total.
guy.
Yeah, well, he did 11 races alongside Alonso and Sainz.
Rocha taking the position from Wattman, going down into the right hand before the hairpin. Nicely done. So that means Rocha is up into 8th, with Wattman back to 9th.
Yeah, and in any case, if Wattman is looking at the timetables, he should be like encouraged and motivated by what David Jakes is doing with that Lotus.
Thinking he can get points as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim Hill is now less than 7 seconds behind Jake, so he might be tempting a comeback.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. And at this point, I think that everybody has learned the lesson well. And it's like, no, I'm going to drive my own merry way, see what happens, because, not even past half the race.
And we've already lost about half the drivers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. It's amazing to see. Del Piccolo has pitted for repairs, right?
He has,
The amazing thing is that he hadn't pitted before.
True, but I mean Jonsson is now right in behind him, almost a lap ahead as the position in front of Del Piccolo.
And steady Bruno will soon be 12th if he overtakes all the retirees.
Indeed, indeed.
There's still hope.
For sure.
And David Saber has commented on the forum, he blew his engine after having missed a few gear changes.
No.
Yeah.
Ooh, Vilmer cutting it really fine in the chicane. Wowee. That looked like millimeters away from disaster.
Yeah, and Gabriele, who is 5th now, has right behind him Wilmer Johnson, who is 4th actually. So the 5th is about to be lapped by the 4th. Although after the repairs, with the pace that he has now, I doubt much that Del Piccolo is going to be lapped so easily, but we will see.
It's interesting to watch these guys drive not only on the main pavement itself, but a lot of them are using the curbs on certain portions of the track, which you would think would upset these cars more than they do, but apparently not.
Well, they got a very big suspension travel and self-suspension, so I think, and also the big wheels, which I think helps a lot. Big wheels with not thin profiles in the tires, sidewalls, I mean. But yeah, there is some brutal treatment here of some tires.
Now we're halfway through the race here, or coming up to the halfway point, and David Jake's leading in a Lotus. It'd be interesting if he goes on to win this race. He will precede the actual first win of a Lotus Formula One car by 2 years.
This was, in real life, Lotus' first F1 race.
In real life, this is Lotus's first F1 race. Okay.
Yes.
Well, Lotus won their first actual Formula One race in 1960 at this exact same event in the hands of Sir Sterling Moss. But the interesting wrinkle about that is it wasn't the Lotus team itself. It was a Rob Walker Racing under Lotus that won.
Same team which won in 1958. But didn't today. Well, sorry for all the fans, I slightly interrupted the plan. Try again next time.
Well, my cat needs her evening dinner, so I'll be right back. The camera will be fixed on the chicane for the moments I'll be away, so I'll be right back.
Okay.
Is that a commentator curse for somebody trying to crash out in the chicane?
I don't know.
If anything happens, it will be a chicane, no? So.
Bruno Chacon has gone straight on at the chicane, and I'm checking if that's engine or... No, he's reversing, so... That's just a case of a missed braking point, and Bruno's saving himself.
Yeah, 0 RPM on his engine.
I think he's out of the race.
Yeah, that's probably the reason he missed it in the first
place. No, because he reversed. He reversed.
He's out now. He has disappeared from the escape road, so...
No, I'll tell you what happened. He reversed out of the spot and then over-revved it, trying to put it in first.
Oh, no.
That's painful.
That's too bad.
For the engine.
It's a shame, because Bruno is Mr. Reliable.
Yep.
It's a very uncommon mistake for him. And, well, I did say somebody be commentator cursed by the chicane, but I wasn't expecting it to be him.
So we better should shut up because we don't have many more people to course by now. I mean, there's only 11 cars in the
I'll refrain from mentioning who's the following driver entering the chicane.
Okay.
But indeed,
So-
we only have 11 cars left.
Yeah. So whatever the case, Jax is leading. Tim Hilleder in second, Anders Nilsson in third, Wilmar Johnson in fourth, and despite all the mishaps and the repairs and everything, there's in fifth Gabriele Del Piccolo driving for Giorgio Scarlatti. Canola, Tiago Canola is there in sixth position. Brian Janik is seventh.
And the gap between Gabriele and Thiago is only 4 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And that is for the final point.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So this is probably the closest battle we have on track. Although Brian Janik's only 10 seconds behind the both of them.
Well, Del Piccolo is not that much in front of Canola, mind you.
Oh, Canola can see Thiago.
Yep.
Can see Gabriele, sorry.
Quite poetic here, two very different shades of red and two very different takes of driver.
4 seconds gap currently, so we could be on for a challenge from Thiago soon.
Mm-hmm.
Baby in that engine.
Yeah, he's taking it right out to the edge of that picket fence. He exits Sandoval. Thiago is.
Tim Hill is now 5 seconds behind David Jakes. As we have passed the halfway mark.
Oh, another yellow flag here at the hairpin. What's going on? It looks like Wilmer Johnson's had an issue of some kind.
He's very lucky to even be able to continue. That was a big off. He hit
Have a look here. Yeah, he spun out.
He hit. No, he didn't even. It wasn't a spin out. He hit the inside of the left and then the right, and then fell down the track, but didn't end up in the water.
Oh my goodness.
That
Oh,
car looks to be
wow.
handling very poorly. It's shaped like a banana now.
Oh man, he just clipped the inside. You're right, and then
Yeah, it looks
the
like
rest of it
he's-
is- Wow.
Looks like he's going to
Yeah,
try
he's
and ask
pointing
them.
every way.
Yeah, he's
He's
going
in
to
for
try and
repairs.
ask them to. Yeah,
Here he comes into the pits right now.
that's very unfortunate for a very well driven race, but that car is, as you say, feeling very sorry for itself. Oh no, and the engine blows as soon as he
Engine
parks it.
Oh!
Well,
Well,
Ah,
BRM, that's BRM for you.
may as
No,
well
and
put
also
the,
probably
spanners
forcing
away.
it in gear to make it to the pits.
indeed. That's really unfortunate for him. Well, I suppose that means Del Piccolo will be up into fourth in in half a lap's time, and Canola likely to get up into fifth and the points.
And
Yep.
we're half a race to go. We only have 10 cars left.
Can't say I'm surprised.
Never mind.
Well, it's one of those races where the smallest thing can mean disaster.
And I think it's all also about the mindset of the people. We are racing
Oh,
here.
Anders going very sideways into Sandivot. Sorry, Alberto.
No problem. And I mean, we are racing this year DRM, we are racing Kart 87 and all that, and it's so different from what it was back then in the 50s and even early 60s. I mean, back then it was all about taking care of very fragile machines. We are nowadays used to doing all the wheel banging, all the hero moves on the braking, all the going flat out all the time, hot lapping. That's what you see many of the modern series, or at least we have been seeing it for many years. And I guess we are somehow spoiled by that. But if you pick these machines, you really need to preserve everything about them, to be very, very careful with them. And he who is able to manage them is the one who is able to finish the races. And finishing here is winning. That's absolutely no discussion on
Correct. David Jakes has just lapped his teammate for the second time.
that.
Who's currently sitting in 9th, but that could still be a points-paying position if he keeps it going.
Yeah, it could.
Rocha has spun into Saint Devot, and Jakes is approaching it currently. And Jakes, just avoids him. Oh.
Did he hit it?
He didn't hit Rocha, but I think he may have struck the wall.
That's very unfortunate, but to also eke out on the just finishing and how difficult this track is, even Bruno Chacon, who always finishes races normally, has been forced to retire. It's absolutely incredible.
Your chicane cam may have caught that. Yeah, he went straight on at the chicane, put it in reverse, and then missed the gear, put it in first again.
All right. That's really unfortunate.
So it's probably the slowest speed retirement we've had tonight.
Yeah, and I should mention one curious fact, one interesting fact about the drivers that were champions in the early days, in the 30s, 40s, even 50s.
They were older.
Not just that, but many, if not most of them, started as mechanics.
And just a word of warning, the gap between Jakes and Hill is less than 3 seconds now.
It is, yes, after the incident that happened with Luciano Rocha there.
Yes.
Jakes lost all his lead, and let me check that for you. What's the situation of his lap times now? Because I don't think he has covered a full lap yet after that mishap. But his last lap was 1.45. Let me see what he scores now, because he's there in the main street now.
No, you need to look at the Harbour Straight, Alberta. That's what our timing is.
Yeah. Well, it will be some time then until we get an update time, but well, as I was saying, I mean, many of the drivers in the early days, they were actually mechanics. They knew how to be sympathetic to the car. I mean, even Sir Jackie Stewart, who is a guy that was known to be very, very, very careful with the machinery and taking care of the car and very smooth in his driving and all that, his beginnings were as a mechanic.
Yeah, I can think of one pre-war driver, very, very good, who started as a mechanic.
Herman Lang.
Herman Lang.
Yeah, Herman Lang. Yep. Exactly. I mean, the guy who was robbed, as I read once in one of the books that I have, the guy who was basically deprived or robbed of his deserved glory by the stupid wars.
True.
Well, it's one of those unfortunate things over the years.
Yep. So, David Jakes is to his steady rhythm. Fortunately for him, it seems that there was no damage in the car. It's just a mishap there.
Oh no, Tim Hill has retired!
Oh no!
What happened?
Happened a small while ago, by the looks of things.
Oh, it can't have been that long ago, because...
Engine
blown at Mirabeau.
Yeah.
That was the name of the corner you were looking for, Jonathan. Mirabeau.
Indeed. It actually happened on the exit of the casino section. And then he coasted down to Mirabeau and nearly to the
I can hear a BRM missing its shift.
And the only remaining BRM is Hackman, so...
No, oh yeah, there's Hackman, yeah, sorry.
And
Apologies, I forgot Wilmer had retired already.
And that means with that blown engine for Hille, Anders Nilsson now the main man in the championship, I suppose one could say, still remaining in the race, is up to second.
Yes, but he didn't get a point in the first race either.
Well, true, but he with a win here, if anything happens to Yates, he'll be up into shared lead in the championship, and even if he finishes second, he'll be, I believe, equal second in the championship. So,
well, the 5 points finishes from race 1 have either retired or not raced here, so it's all open. Although if Jakes wins and takes fastest lap, he'll have more points than I do.
yeah, it's one of those things, but I mean, it's still 44 laps.
Well, if you look at the championship back then, I mean, there was a championship, someone won it, and they didn't even contest all the races. I mean, I'm not even saying finishing or whatever. They didn't even contest them.
Well, that's true of basically, I mean, because wasn't Indianapolis part of the F1 calendar?
It was.
It was like 2 more years and it wouldn't be.
Nobody showed up there.
Nobody showed up.
Well, it does say the World Drivers' Championship. Nobody said it had to be in F1 cars.
Yeah.
Quite.
I wonder if Anders will resist the temptation. I suppose he will, because he's experienced. Resist the temptation of going after Jakes.
Yeah,
Thinking 6 points is fine.
Knowing Anders, he'll be well happy to be where he is at the moment and go at his pace. And if it's enough to catch Jakes to go at his pace, then obviously he will try. But I don't think he'll try any harder than he is, because I think he's driving where the car needs to be and where he needs to be.
Very much unlike Brian Janik, who is hunting down Thiago Canola right now.
Oh, I was looking at that. The gap between Del Piccolo, Canola and Yannick was only roughly 15 seconds prior, and it looks like it's closer now.
Watman for 6th.
Oh, trying at least.
Well, no, he just did.
Oh no, sorry, you said Roja. Yeah, he did. Impressive stuff. And let's see if Yannick can get 2 points instead of 1 here.
There goes
He
Yannick
goes,
into the tunnel, and Canola, following his motto, says, "Go ahead. I'll see you later when you blow your engine."
Yannick actually finished third in race 1. Sorry for the misinformation. So if he can get a few points from this race, he could well find himself higher up in the standings.
Indeed.
Current place is good enough for 3 points.
2 points, yes.
Watman, if he can keep his car going, don't count him out of this one. He could, because he's driven a lot of GPL and a lot of cars like this over the years. I remember he and I ran a little tiny 1937 series a long time ago.
Yep. That was far, far away in another galaxy, right?
Yes, it was. And he enjoys these types of cars. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he obviously doesn't have the pace of his teammate, but if he sticks with it, who knows? He's 7th right now. All it takes is 2 more retirements ahead of him, and he's in the points.
Correct. He could be there, though.
Don't discard him.
I mean, even the guy running last, August Watering, could still get a point. We're not there yet.
Starting lap 56 now.
And I gotta say, I'm go on.
Or actually, no, wait. I was looking at Simon. We're further ahead than that. We're 58.
Yeah, and I'm extremely impressed with August being able to keep on running, because from what I know for August, he's more used to the oval side of things. So to be able to keep these no downforce really biosupply cars on this particular track away from the walls and keeping on going and looking after the car is very, very impressive.
Yeah, there's one spot that I've been thinking would pose a problem for these cars, but so far nobody has had that issue. It's at Poitiers when you're coming around and there's this overhang there. There's a bridge, and if you're not careful, you can take a wheel off on the edge heading into that section just under that bridge. But nobody's done that yet.
It's actually right on board with Watering's front-mounted camera here and see that in action. Not taking the wheel off, but looking at the sportier section coming up. Right here it comes. You can see the overhang on the left there on the entry of the turn.
And just for the record, and because it was also asked in the chat, only 6 cars finished the real race. Only 6. And many of them are probably unknown to modern Formula One public. Because the first one was Maurice Trintignant with a Cooper. Second was Luigi Musso with a Ferrari. Then came Peter Collins with another Ferrari, and then Sir Jack Brabham with a Cooper Climax, and Harry Schell with a BRM, and finally Cliff Allison with a Lotus Climax. 13 laps behind the leader. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not as if what we are seeing here today is something due to the physics being too hard on the drivers or whatever. No. What we're seeing here is
what actually happened.
To say a lighter version of the real life.
Oh, and in the real life race, Mike Hawthorne set the fastest lap, so he got a point. But he retired from the race.
Yep.
Driving a Ferrari.
And it looks like both Yannick and Del Piccolo is pressing on. Yannick has pulled 4.5 seconds on Canola in the last few laps here, but barely making up half a second on Del Piccolo. So both of them looks to be going quite considerably quicker than the rest at the moment. And I suppose now that the action is a little bit calmer, let's actually have a look at the trivia question for the remaining 40 odd laps of the race. So the trivia question for you all to ponder for the last half of the race is who was the last F1 driver to win at Monaco before the swimming pool complex was added? Was it A, Jochen Rindt? Was it B, Jean-Pierre Beltois? Or was it C, Jackie Stewart? Thank you once again to Jason for providing these graphics and trivia questions, and of course also not being allowed to answer the trivia question because he already knows the answer.
My lips are sealed.
So
speaking-
Alberto and I can have a guess.
And speaking of the swimming pool, I have to apologize to everyone, but that's a bug in our track or a glitch or whatever you want to call it, because it's empty. It has no water.
Well, maybe they're cleaning it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cleaning
So
it.
I think maybe the winner doesn't get too excited and jump into it because it's going to be a hard landing.
There's a lot of water next to it. He can jump into that.
It'll be one of those where the old tail section gets a bit of a operation going on it as you land.
So it's David Jakes leading from Anders Nilsson. Third is Gabriele Del Piccolo. After all the mishaps so far, podium finish for him, well, on lap 58. It's quite amazing. Then it's Brian Janik, Thiago Canola. 6th is Luciano Rocha. 7th is Simon Watman. 8th is Adam Hackman. 9th is August Watbring. And there's nobody else because the rest of cars are unfortunately parked already in the garage. From 23 starters, that's the surviving rate so far.
And considering it's 39 laps left now, I assume we're probably going to see at least 2 more engine breakages along the way, and then obviously we also need to take into account the fact that this track is very tiring to drive around. Because there's so many things you need to keep track of.
There really is no place to rest around here. You may be able to rest where our leader is right now for a little bit, but before you get to Sandoval, and maybe a little bit on the Harbor Strait, but even then, it's, you know, you got very critical braking points coming up. You can't rest for hardly, I mean, it's not even worth resting, really. just keep focused.
I think, I'm not sure if it was Derek Bell, was once in an interview when they asked him how do you rest on a track when you're doing 24-hour races or something like that, and he said you don't really rest anywhere if the track doesn't allow it. What you do is you rest in your rhythm. I mean, you get into a sort of trance where you actually are just like driving 95% or whatever you want to call it, okay? And then you basically are on autopilot and you are paying attention just to the basic, very important things, and you rest all the time that you are not doing that. It's an art in itself, that's for sure.
There's one anecdote I'm remembering. I just want to check up on what the name is of the person before I tell it back as such.
Meanwhile, David Jakes covers another lap, and that's 62. So we're approaching to 2/3 into the race. And I wonder what's going on through Jake's mind right now.
Well, Nilsson is continuing to close. Gap is now down to less than 19 seconds. I mean, he's not closing quickly. He's not closing hand over fist, but he's eating away just little tiny bits. So.
Yeah, but in this race, everything is like slow paced somehow. And the cars are going quickly, but everything else is playing out very slowly, developing, unfolding. I mean, tell that to Gabriele Del Piccolo, who started, I think it was 10th or something like that, and was 2 times in the pits for repairs. And there he is in the 3rd position right now.
Indeed. And to go on to that resting thing, if I remember correctly, it was Jeremy Shaw, commentator at IMSA Radio, who, as unfortunately August Watering has retired, I just noticed here. Yep. He was talking about, he got a ride along with, I can't remember what driver it was, but it was in one of the Peugeot P86s, I think they were called, back in the day, and the guy was talking to him, and then all of a sudden I just saw him take the hands off his wheel down the Mulsanne Straight, and obviously Jeremy went, "Oh, what are you doing? Don't do that!" And the driver just calmly said, "Well, we're riding in the lorry track, so I can take the hands off the steering wheel and just keep the foot on the gas, and we're still good." So, because the car was wide enough to where it exactly fitted within the lorry wheel tracks.
Wow.
So all the way down the Mulsanne Straight, they would just be able to take the hands off the wheel in those Peugeots and have a look around or massage themselves or like the hands or legs or whatever, and after those, whatever it would take them, like nearly a minute down the Mulsanne straight, they would then prepare to brake for the Mulsanne corner. It's like one of those where, in a way as well, that was a way they could rest, in the way that the car was not entirely meant to be designed to be as wide as a lorry, but obviously it worked that way.
Mm-hmm. I don't imagine rally drivers doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nah, that's more on the actual stage. You would probably not be relaxing, but between the stages, as long as your co-driver has a driver's license, they are fully allowed to drive the car. So the driver could be resting
them
between.
On stages if you want.
Of course, of course. Wasn't that something? Was it like early 2000s maybe, or like to finish off a career, the co-driver got to drive a stage?
Well, Francois Delacour did on one of his many "I retire from rallying" moments.
Indeed, and it looks like Yannick is in trouble here. He's very slow. Looks like he's out of engine.
0 RPM.
He's out of the race.
Yeah.
The tire's right at the Mirabeau exit road.
And there goes Canola.
That's unfortunate.
Him. Yeah.
That's too bad.
And there goes our final points finisher from the first race.
So, am I right in saying that everybody who finished today has points, or not yet?
I think there
we
are
are
still 6 cars running.
Yeah, we are one away from that situation. But Lucian Rocha, in a little bit time here, will be in 5th place and the points.
Correct. So, although if he drives like he does now, that might not last very long. That looked a very optimistic entry into Sandevot. I think by now the motto is just finish the race.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point, I think anybody, who's still running right now is smart enough to go, okay.
I'm still going too quick.
Indeed.
Yep.
Although, having said that, the gap between Jakes and Nilsson continues to fall. It is now down to 14 seconds. Dead, pretty much.
That's nearly 10 seconds Nilsson has gained in the last 10 odd laps.
So, this race is not over yet. I mean, he's reeling him in very, very, very slowly. But,
consistently at the same time, I suppose one could say.
Now, from the point of view of Jakes, he's probably just thinking to himself, well, as long as I don't, well, now it's down to 13.5 seconds, but it's, he's obviously saving his car. But, I don't know, at some point, he's going to have to think to himself, because, at the rate that, Nilsson's closing, he's probably going to be right up with him before the end.
Indeed, Estelle Piccolo very nearly slides the car into the wall again, but avoids that unfortunate situation. Oh, and Nilsson all crossed up in Mirabeau.
Yeah, I'm wondering, even if these tires are not exactly like the modern soft compounds and all that, where you got those problems and that, and sometimes they even use them for, I think, more than one race and that. But still so, I would like to know what the tire situation is now. Because from what I've been seeing lately in the cars and the lap times and that, it would appear to me that they are starting to not be completely confident on what the tires are doing. The wear is starting to be felt.
Well, similarly to how, having watched some rally season highlights over the past couple of weeks, out of interest of how it actually turned out in some of those seasons, it's it's almost like what they had compared to this is that they would be able to do like half the stage going at a pace and be quite comfortable, but then all of a sudden, like almost over like a couple of kilometers, they felt, oh dear, the tire's overheating. This is not. They are not doing what they are supposed to be doing. This is not nice, and then they will lose time instead. So similar to this, where the tires now, as you mentioned, is starting to move around a little bit and not giving them quite the same feeling they have been feeling over the first half, almost, or at this point, I suppose you could say the first 2/3.
In any case, with 66 laps covered by the leader, we are 2/3 into the race. My
That's right.
goodness, that's still 1 full third of the race to go.
Which is very nearly going to make it exactly the 3 hours that we've been talking about from the start.
And with very few drivers to actually get us through that hour.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, what we can definitely see is that Yates is still losing out on time to Nilsson, slowly but steadily. So the question is Nilsson going just that little bit quicker to try and reel him in, or is there other things, as you mentioned, involved with possibly the tires and other issues as well?
I don't know. Jakes is a pretty canny driver. I think he's just saving the car. That's just me.
It's definitely possible, but very difficult to say for sure.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, if Nilsson gets close enough, we may see Jakes start to respond in some way. As Nilsson gets crossed up again, heading into the casino square. Yeah, look at all that stuff heading down the hill towards Mirabeau. All those light poles and everything that are just
very inviting.
Very inviting to take a wheel off of a car.
Yep.
Especially after 2 hours, when you think, oh, how long is this?
Riding with the Rojas front-mounted camera again to have a look at that. Ay.
Well, probably the prospect of having dinner later with Grace Kelly is motivating them.
True.
I think anyone who finishes this race, no matter where they finish, has definitely earned a meal with anyone they prefer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Wattman is there in 6th place. Hanging tough, second Lotus. Great drive from him.
Definitely so. And also another driver showing that keep it straight, keep it pointing in right direction, keep it between the pavement and barriers and light poles and other paraphernalia. Keep a decent, safe pace. And only, 12 seconds off of a possible points finish.
Probably the most famous avoidance situation in the history of Monaco, though, was, I believe, 1991, where some marshal was running across the track and right just after Sandoval and Senna missed this guy by like inches. I remember seeing that when I was a kid, going, "Whoa, that guy should not be doing this for a profession." That's
time to buy a lotto ticket.
Yeah, I know, exactly. That's the other thing I was thinking. But you see, this is a very different era. People standing by the side of the track, taking photographs, and it's.
Well, I think that the craziest and most dangerous spectators I have ever seen were the ones in the Group B rally era.
Especially you can.
Christ.
I mean, there's videos
those people
of.
had a collective death wish.
Yeah, I mean, there's videos of. I know there's like almost archival where they talk about the Portuguese rally, and the Group B cars were coming over a crest, jumping, and the spectators were standing on the actual stage road, like 60 meters after the crest, after the jump, and it's like, come on, if he has a problem and has no brakes, he's landing more or less where you're standing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at some point it seemed like a competition of who were the craziest spectators
the competition
in the Greek
was
rally,
really
the Portugal
how
rally.
close can you get?
Yeah.
And if you touch the car, then you win.
Yeah.
Of course, the car touches you first, then you lose. But
Yeah.
Of course.
I know someone who did rally in Portugal, and he once said that he got a corner with his wheel in the air, and he felt he hit a hump or something, but he couldn't see what. But it was on the inside of a corner over an edge, and he didn't know it. And then a few hours later, someone walks up to him and says, "Sign my jacket." I have to sign a jacket. So he signs it, and then looks at the back, and there's his tire mark.
Oh no.
Dear.
So he's just happy, look, haha, I got, hit by a car. I'm here, now sign my jacket, you did it.
Well, bear in mind that these are the young guys that enjoy getting close to a bull, in the popular. We got this here in Spain still nowadays going on. I mean, the young people always prove themselves in the holidays when they have the local parties at the villages and all that. The usual thing here is to lose a bull and see who gets closer. And all that.
Nilsson just missed shifts there. Sorry.
Yeah,
so compared with a bull, a rally car is quite predictable, I guess.
I suppose so, but
Has less
still.
sharp edges, though, also.
Quite.
Yeah.
That gap between Nilsson and Jakes has opened up. It's now 16.7. So.
Yes, Jakes has somehow realized what was going on and has been able to squeeze a bit more of the Lotus. Although we never know if this is a sign of the pressure that Nilsson is putting on him from the distance, and Jakes is falling onto the trap. And maybe he's going to pay later for that.
Could definitely be, and again talking about.
In any case, he's very far from his quickest lap. Last one was 1:41.7. Best lap was 1:40.2 on lap 22, and obviously the fuel load is anywhere closer.
And talking about again the Portuguese, especially rally spectators. Another memory I have is of, I think it's the 97 or 98 edition, on board with Colin McRae. First car onto the stage, and I think it was the first stage of the rally. And McRae and Grist were not taking lightly to going fast, but even they were going like, this stage should have been cancelled. There were spectators all over the place. There were so many close to the road and on the road that was more.
You could only see the road when they move away in scared.
Yeah, and it was like, as they crossed the finish, they went past the finish board. They couldn't even see the boards, so they nearly went full speed into the timing area. So it's like moments later, after they finished, and the organizers realized, oh shit, we'll cancel that stage. Come on, no more cars through that stage. Before there's an accident similar to, I think it was 86, was it? Where there were that accident in Portugal first, and then,
that was 86, yes.
Yeah, and then obviously later that year Toivonen going off on Tour de Cour.
And it's, I think, the only moment that Nilsson and Jakes can see each other in the track is when Nilsson is over the start-finish straight. Jakes is over the hairpin and just crossing over the pedestrian crosswalk there.
Indeed.
And that tells you that the difference has been quite steady for several laps, because I've seen them do that already many times. And I can't really believe how Del Piccolo's car is holding. My goodness, after all the repairs, all the wheel banging, hitting the walls and all that, and there he is.
That's a strongly built car.
Yeah.
No place to be there in the end.
Yep.
Yeah, well, he's absolutely babying it now.
Mhm.
I mean, like 6,500 RPM, that's the highest I've seen the tachometer go. And all the time he's shifting way earlier than that.
It's probably the right thing to do too, considering all the engine-related retirements we've seen.
Yeah, everybody's doing that. But this is one of the things that you realize when you are able, like we are nowadays, to look into the cockpits and to know afterwards what all this game was about. Because for the people who were standing on the side of the road, they were like driving fast and furious all the time, like banging the cars and doing the utmost and that wasn't the case actually. I mean, they were going quick for sure, but they were taking care of the cars, of the engine.
Uh-oh, big mischief there.
Oh!
Oh, and he's whoa! He just came very close to hitting several trees, and man, Gabriel,
I wonder
take it easy.
I wonder if he's starting to feel a little bit tired in this race,
Maybe.
because that was two mistakes very close together.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed he had another moment a couple of laps ago up at Casino where he took the pavement on the inside of that left-hander quite comprehensively.
And that mischief might actually result in the failure later. Doesn't immediately have to signal the death of your engine. Could have a slow impact on the long term.
Definitely, that's something you might pay for dearly later. We will see.
He did it again.
Yeah,
wow.
and he's blown the engine.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, of course.
Oh, unfortunate, but he was making mistakes.
Watman comes up to witness it, so he can say he has the final point now.
If you can see past all that black smoke.
There he goes.
It's one of those situations where occasionally you would see in old or actually on modern onboards, when a car blows and the car behind, you can just see the screen going, all the oil just lands on the front windscreen of the car, and it's like, oh dear, where
you probably
can't
see that
anything.
Many more times in jet fighters when one of them blows the other, and it's all of a sudden, bang, a burst of oil in your canopy.
He doesn't want to give up. He just keeps going.
He's letting gravity carry the car at this point.
Well, I think he wants to get.
He's thinking yeah, go on.
If I'm thinking what you're thinking, he wants to get as close to the swimming pool as possible, so he doesn't have to walk as far.
Well, I was thinking he wants to get as far as possible. Should Watman blow the engine on the same lap? At least get a point for it. Technically, there's still two people behind him, so if they blow their engines before they lap him.
Pulling up right next to this
bench.
This young couple right here.
Well, at least they get a real close-up of the car.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Can
unfortunate.
he drink some sandwiches for me?
Quite. So that's Canola up into third in the old
Interestingly,
Maserati there.
it says in the log that the cause of retirement was suspension. So even if we had witnessed how the engine blew up, it seems that the suspension was even more damaged than that.
According to the software, yes. According to the driver, probably not.
Several strikes with the wall along the way. I mean, it's not surprising to me that would override any engine failure, but yeah, we definitely heard the engine go silent. So,
Well, I could give a few retirements like that in rallying, where they signaled the problem was electrical, and they said, in which way was the problem electrical? Well, I hit a tree and the alternator was 10 meters away from the car.
I believe wasn't Juha
I hit
Kankkonen
an
quite?
electric pole.
Yeah, wasn't Juha Kankkonen quite proficient in that?
Oh yes, but the last one was actually Ari Vatanen.
Dear God.
Yeah, that one. He just signaled to his team, I retired from the rally, I have an electrics failure, the alternator went off. Oh, we could send someone in the stage with a bag of spares. Of course, when they found him, they realized that the alternator problem was there was a tree in the middle of the bonnet.
Yeah. I mean, I think I can't remember. I think it was in Tour de Corps or possibly Spain. Juha Kankkonen in the Ford said something along the line had hit the left rear or right rear on a wall or similar. Parked the car, retired, and sent to the team, claiming that the problem was a puncture, I think, like out of spare tires. The real problem was that the whole suspension and everything was just completely buckled in.
Well, you did always say that I went off, but the speed was okay, but the corner was too tight.
Yeah.
Quite. So with that unfortunate retirement for Del Piccolo, Simon Wattmann will score a point here tonight.
Well, he's still... Yeah, he does, yeah. So he's overtaken...
Yeah, Jakes is coming to lap him again.
And well, the gap is now 13 seconds between David and Anders.
But Wattmann has closed in on Rocha. A little bit.
There's a no man's land, 2 laps behind. And there's only 12 seconds between Rocha and Wattmann. So.
There comes Jakes to help the reliability of the engine of his teammate by saving him another lap.
There you go. That's a very positive way of looking at it.
Yeah, man. That is one way. Oh, he's really taking it easy.
Well, it's the way Jakes does it. He really wants to know for sure that where the car in front wants to be before he goes for the lapping part of it.
I can't blame him at Monaco.
Well, he tries to do that in most places, to be fair. But,
he really likes to. I remember one race in particular. The other driver will remain nameless, but a collision occurred between Jakes and him. And the first words out of Jakes' mouth when he got into the on TeamSpeak was, I don't know what I was supposed to do there, or I don't know where he wanted me to be. So he definitely tries to set up. He wants to be absolutely sure of where he needs to be when he's lapping somebody, and what the intentions of the other driver are, as best he can before he makes any move. And he was probably wise to be cautious there, because Simon doesn't race with us that often, or he doesn't. Let's put it another way: he doesn't practice as often, as others do. So the mental book you have, racing with him is a little bit less. So it's like, coming up, you want to be pretty sure that you're going to be able to skate by. That's for sure. Makes perfect sense.
And it's also one of those where you hear in endurance racing, especially like the 24-hour races, Le Mans and Daytona, especially since those are bigger races than the other 24-hour races. A driver would say, "Well, I knew how to lap that car, but you need to know when they put another driver in the car, because each driver drives slightly differently in different situations. So you need to know that, okay, this is another guy. I better just give it a couple of lappings to know what does this driver do.
Well, having 24 hours helps knowing the people.
Indeed, but I mean, as soon as they change driver, you need to know, okay, they changed driver, which driver is it?
So the gap between Jakes and Nilsson is now just a little over 11 seconds.
And I think that's down to Jakes taking it a little bit easier with that lap.
Yes, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. It was 16 seconds before. Now it's down to 11. It also probably accounts for him waiting behind Simon for a little bit.
Whatever the case, there is now a visual between Anders and Jakes, and we know how that helps the drivers, motivates them.
For sure.
Well, call it whatever you want, but I think that Anders will be finding a fifth gear now.
We'll see.
Well, possibly, but at the same time he wants to finish this race, I'm sure, so it's again how big of a risk are you willing to take?
Yeah, well, that's not... okay, that's Simon Watman. Okay, I was looking from Nilsson's car and I was
thinking,
saying like...
I was thinking, 11 seconds. I don't think you can see the car from 11 seconds.
No, but he did took back half a second and
it's
in the final
10.6 now.
sector, so getting closer.
Yeah, getting closer, yes.
Let's see, both of these, both the Lotus and the Van Wall has disc brakes, right?
The Lotus for sure, the One Wall, I cannot tell. I think it has in the front.
A very good question. Don't remember it having disc brakes, but I could be proven wrong.
Whatever the case, we have mentioned this at the beginning of the race and it's complicated. It's hard now if you are Anders to keep in mind the fact that Jakes is doing a one-off. I mean, he will be out of the Lotus in the next race, where it will go back to Dave Miller, and he's not really a championship contender, whereas Anders is now a championship to look for, and he needs to score the points and not get involved into fights that don't lead him to anywhere else but blowing an engine, like when being so close to scoring points in this difficult track.
And still the tires are getting older.
Yeah, Jakes is going now through the strange occurrence of lapping a car now.
It's Luciano Rocha.
Yep.
It should pose no major difficulty,
Luciano
but
pulls to the right there, no problem.
That's the good thing about this stage of the race. Everybody knows where he is, and obviously for Luciano there is nothing to gain there, even trying to lap harder. So he can let David Jakes go by. And this is also the way that the Grand Prix driving was conducted back in the 50s and also earlier. Because the drivers, it's interesting because we are so used to daredevil maneuvers of breaking the other guy and all those things. But in the 30s and 40s and even 50s, it wasn't like that. I mean, drivers were way more courteous. If you were realizing that the other guy was quicker than you, you would open the door for him. And it was all a game of taking care of the machinery, being there in the end, lapping courteously. And well, it's nothing like the ultra competitive thing we have seen from the 60s, 70s onwards.
Be more like what we would see in endurance races up until the more or less the early 90s, really.
Yep. Yes, basically.
And the gap has increased now slightly. 11.4, so...
It looks like it's more or less fluctuating between the 10 and 12 second mark, dependent on where on the track they are. If it's where Yates' Lotus is very strong, or if it's where the Van Wall is able to stretch the legs a little bit.
I just wonder what is going on through the mind of these guys now. Although I guess if I could write it down, it would like, please, dear God, don't let it break down now.
Yeah, at this point, that's what they're thinking. Don't make any silly mistakes. Don't focus.
Well, they'll get points, even if they drop out. They'll have some sort of reward.
Especially compared to many in the DRM races at Norris Ring last weekend, where many drivers managed to make it more or less 2/3 through the race, and then the engine started to say, "Yeah, I think we're done for today."
It's an interesting comparison because the Norris Ring, the DRM, that's something that is like Fast and Furious. I mean, very, very quick pace, short races. Everybody needs to. It's like, how would I describe it? You have on one hand an engine to take care about, and on the other hand, just a short race to make the most out of it. So you are like pressed into squeezing the engine and like betting that it will last and all that. And this, in comparison, well, it's also a game of reliability. It's like in slow motion, but it's the same.
And there's a signaling and pit stop. Oh, he's on signaled already.
So presumably the fuel then, is it?
Or maybe it's the game by default signaling it. That
Could
is
be.
one possibility.
The equivalent of the Windows paperclip.
Do you need help? No, leave me alone.
Would you like an instruction manual?
Hey, it looks like you're writing a letter.
Quite. The only time I would like that kind of help is I'm writing a resume. Would you like some help with that?
And then it doesn't help.
Indeed.
Yeah. Just when you need it, eh? I really would love to be able to see the temperature gauges of the engines of these guys.
Well, considering they've gone on for 80 plus laps, I'd say they already should be. I do notice everybody's shifting really early and babying their engines.
It's interesting to see that Wattmann is closing in on Rocha, but I wonder if it's a little bit too late for him to have a proper crack at it, but he is getting closer at the moment.
Yeah, he gained a full second over the final sector of the lap, so he could still, well, not for them, there's not 20 laps to go, but we could be on for a fight in the closing stage of the race.
Well, we gained another second or so through the hairpin that time.
I don't know, at this point I'm thinking finishing is on everyone's mind.
True, but I mean, if it's a safe pace where you're just in the groove, then it's a freebie. In a way, at least getting close, but then obviously there's the inevitable situation of how do I get past this guy now that I've actually pulled up.
Oops, Luciano Rocha.
Oh, yeah.
You just hit something really hard. Really hard.
Well, that's another great thing to worry about is the tires. How are they going? Oh yeah, he hit the lamppost.
Oh!
And he's signaling pits.
Speaking of the devil, and he shall arrive.
Yeah, and there goes Simon Watman.
Well, he still has to pass him.
No, I know, but I mean, there he goes. He's very close now.
Yeah, and Luciano's
Preying
going really slowly.
on a wounded prey, in National Geographic terms.
Oh,
That car is
this
not
could be
behaving
rough.
nicely.
yep, there he goes.
Very
Watman up to
sporting
5th.
though.
Now, how does he get through here? Very gently.
Oh, it looks like the suspension is badly damaged, or the body of the car as well, so...
Yeah, that thing looked like an oval racer, so not going to make.
Has a very big dent in the side.
I really hope the engine doesn't blow here. Best thing he could do, I think, is just turn it off as soon as he's put some speed out of this hairpin here.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Just let momentum carry him into the box, because he doesn't have to worry about anyone catching him.
Well, he doesn't seem to. Hit. Oh,
There
does,
he
does.
comes.
Yeah.
Okay, now turn it off.
So that means Vatman then up into 4th for the time being, at least. Again, slowly catch your monkey, and there we go. 2 points at the moment. I think that equals.
Yeah, it does. Yes. I need to check who's holding fastest lap, because that's obviously worth a point. Yeah. Unless live racers would like to inform us of that. Is something I. No, we couldn't find. We can't find it. David Jakes currently holds fastest lap.
Alrighty.
Yes, that's correct. 140.224.
Considering how late we are in the race, I don't think that is as likely to change, is it?
No, but that would make David the championship leader, because when I won in Argentina, I didn't get fastest lap.
Indeed.
The one-off driver will find himself in the lead.
As in the real life series at times,
Yes, and there is a car available for pickup after this race.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've been saying all this race that David Jakes is, after all, a one-off racer. He doesn't have a permanent ride and all that, which is true. But with the points that he gets in this race, he could be motivated, like, to try to join the championship.
Which car is available?
The number 22 Cooper, which wasn't seen today. Well, you can say wow, but I'm not sure it'll work that well on a track which needs more than 4 gears.
Yeah.
It handles well, doesn't like chicanes, and it doesn't like braking. Well, it doesn't like braking for chicanes.
We're going to Sandboard next time.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
I reckon that could be a very nice track to drive with these cars.
That should potentially be a Cooper track. Right? It's more worrying when we get to Rems and all that, Monza. Luciano has left the pits, by the way. He's 1 lap down on Simon Watman.
But at least he's able to keep on going and do some more laps.
Yeah, I mean, it might not look like that at this beginning of the championship, but there are plenty of high-speed tracks in this schedule. I can think of Spa, I can think of India. This also the Morocco track is also going to be quite interesting, because it's high speed, and at the same time it's Monza, and at the same time it's going to be hot. I mean, really desert hot.
It'll be possibly a track where you go full throttle and then half a kilometer before the next turn, you just lift off and out of gear and just coast it. And be like, da-di-da-di-da, don't blow up, cool down, please. And then with a bit of luck, it'll do that.
87 laps now.
Yep.
It looks like pace-wise that either Anders has decided that second is well enough, or Jakes has decided to speed up just a tiny bit and try to open the gap a little bit slowly this time. Because the gap has slowly been increasing over the last few laps.
Yeah, a little bit, little by little, it's been increasing. But yeah, at this point, I think they're pretty much resigned to where they are. But hats off to these gentlemen for driving fantastic races. I mean, getting to the end of this race is a win in itself.
Yep,
It is.
absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, I think in the trenches in the Somme in 1916 they had less casualties than here.
There is no good continuation on that line, so...
Nope, not really. Can we get on with your trivia question again, or?
Well, we could.
All right.
I mean, 15 laps to go, we could definitely do that.
I don't think we followed it on it.
No, we've asked it, but let's ask it again and have the answer as well. So the question for you all to ponder during the last half of this race, it became about 37 laps, was who was the last F1 driver to win at Monaco before the swimming pool complex was added? Was it A, Jochen Rindt? Was it B, Jean-Pierre Beltois? Or was it C, Jackie Stewart? Any guesses here in the booth?
I'll go with Beltois.
Well, so just that you can use the wrong button, I would say Jackie Stewart.
I don't think Jonathan has a wrong button.
I sadly do not, because I can't get it to work properly.
Well,
Well, then you can
Jason
hope some
do the
of us,
fake sound.
one of us, are right.
And the correct answer is Jean-Pierre Beltois in 1972.
Ah, the year I was born. That is.
In monsoon conditions, I might add, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that was the last victory for BRM.
It was the last for BRM, it was the last one for Beltois, and he was driving, I think, with a broken arm or a broken wrist. Which is why he was happy it was raining, because that made the car handle better.
Indeed, that's yeah, that's not a nice situation, is it? It's that's the sort of similar hard-headedness of I am going to compete, I am going to do well, that we saw. That would have been the year 2000, I think, when Colin McRae went off at would that have been Tour de Cour 2, I think. Yeah, it will have been. Went off on a mountain section road, landed upside down, broke his jaw, and the doctor said, I would suggest against competing in the next event, but Colin decided, nah, I am going to drive, I am going to compete. With a broken jaw, he finished 6th for 1 point in another tarmac rally, with all the G-forces going on in the tarmac rally.
And Jakes is about to lap Canola.
He is indeed, and put the
Well, at least now he knows that he's not driving alone in the track. There's
Indeed.
something else up there.
Indeed.
Hey, there's another car.
Yep.
Where did it come from?
A guy that got lost.
What
No,
is
but
it?
I mean, we're laughing, but look at real life
Yeah.
finishing rate. We're not really that much off. It was like that.
No.
Indeed. Indeed.
We still have 10 laps to go.
Yep.
It is good to see, though, that Luciano got his car running again.
Yeah.
Even though he had to give up fourth place to Simon, he still finishes in the top 5 if he can keep the thing rolling.
Well,
That could have turned out a lot worse.
Yeah, the ones that have made it so far, they really deserve it. I mean, to finish and score the points. Because as you said, finishing here is a victory in itself.
it is.
It's also nice to see, at least by the looks of things from the outside, Roja's pit crew has done a good job in repairing the car as well. Looks to be handling relatively all right.
Yeah, barring really hard shunts, I think that these cars were quite repairable, so to speak. They were not complicated, no fancy wings, carbon fiber, or anything like that. So just some body work, and then all the whole suspension with the arms and all that. So it could be repaired. It took time, but then again, this was like everything was more in slow motion in these races back then.
And it was also, as mentioned earlier, with many of the drivers, at least the successful drivers having been mechanics before becoming race car drivers, they would jump out and be able to help with the repairs as well, to speed it up more.
Oh yeah, and sometimes even coursing the crew like AJ Foyt.
Quite.
But that's another story, I guess.
Into lap number 92.
And it looks like the gap has stabilized at 13-14 seconds.
Yes, yes. Anders now going. He just made the hairpin and is going into turn 1. Well, actually turn 2 after the hairpin. But yeah, it doesn't look as if he is willing to challenge David Jakes, or even if a car is capable of doing that without overheating that time. Lotus has his moment of glory here.
2 years
And
early.
it's probably about the only track where it will.
Probably.
I mean, yeah, it's very good handling. Like the Cooper, it has that small advantage, so to speak. But I mean, the engine is so weak, and I can't really think of any other track where the Lotus would actually be so much like a fish in the water.
Zandvoort could be interesting. I mean, he only has one proper straight. It's
well,
Could probably do decent. I mean, it's many
with
fast corners.
with a quality driver. I'm sure it could find itself playing, not saying completely at the front, but near it. Of course, after that, it does become more complicated.
And we have
yeah, but if you are a Lotus driver and you have to pick a race, you would
you'd pick
certainly
Monaco.
pick this one. Yeah, absolutely.
And we also had a question in the broadcast chat as well. How is the Lotus 12, actually 2 Lotus 12s still running? And I suppose it's a case of they are looking after the cars.
Yeah.
And there's the Nürburgring as well, Alberto. You can't forget that one. But that has plenty of turns to beat a nimble car like that.
I would definitely, if I were to drive at all at Nürburgring, I would be looking at the Cooper to be the car to pick, I think.
Well, you could drive a Porsche. It handles really nice, but
I will stick to my 934, I guess.
yes, but you can't enter that in an F1 race.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that contest for 78 DRM. It's going to be definitely an interesting race. that race you have both divisions in the same race itself, which makes sense because it's such a massive track.
It is.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. The chances of encountering one of those cars, from another division, slim. So.
And
That thread is going up tonight. If anybody
Indeed.
wants to grab a car, you can have a look already. Well, after the race,
Yeah,
obviously.
and that leads me to say that we haven't talked yet about the upcoming events, as we usually do.
Indeed. Let's look at that DRM coming up event, because that is the next one being put up. The 41st International Ardak Eifelrennen. 1978 DRMs. That's round 3 of 11. Sunday, March the 6th. And as mentioned, the two divisions will be running as one. And based on the little bit of laps I've put in on the tourist version of the Nordschleife, this is very likely to be a fuel race rather than an engine race, to say the least. Because mentioning, I think it's 7 laps, is it, for the race, I think?
It is 7 laps, yes.
That'll be a
the race is going to be who runs out of fuel before blowing the engine. So
quite. It's
It's a lot of things to contend with.
Indeed.
I mean, to clarify, you're not running out of fuel technically because you can refuel. But the problem is if you stop in the pits to refuel, you're going to lose there big time.
So it's a question of, can you make up enough time by running out of fuel and refueling to not lose enough time in the pits refueling the car in the second place.
And live with the worn tires and 500 horsepower.
Indeed.
In the Nürburgring.
And then also the fact that there are 3 sets of tires with the qualifying and everything. Oh! Luciano Roja with a heavy hit into the barriers.
Yeah. It seems like he lost the rear on the braking.
Looks like he is able to continue though.
Yeah.
Gonna get lapped by Jakes here in a minute. Seems to be okay.
Well, depends on your definition of okay. I guess.
Yeah.
Well, in this place, I think it's being able to continue going is enough.
Yeah. It's still rolling.
He's running quite wide there. Or maybe he was expecting David to already look at the inside.
Yeah, he's getting a blue flag in his face. He wants to.
Yeah, not that David is in a hurry to lap him, but.
No, I doubt that. 5 laps to go. No, almost 5.5. Sorry.
I'm guessing he'll try to keep going until the end now.
Anders' engine has died.
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh, he parks it.
Oh, down at the Mirabeau, so another engine blowing out of the casino section.
Man.
Yeah, well, you would still get points for it, but that's really harsh.
But in lap 94, come on. I mean.
And we can see David Jakes doing really low revs now with a 3-lap lead over Thiago Canola.
Yeah, he's going to be soft pedaling it like you won't believe.
That's
all the way around.
That's one of those where I'm fairly sure Anders will be saying, couldn't you have blown after 20 laps?
Yes, we were discussing that earlier. When would you want your engine to go?
Yeah, it's.
I feel really sorry for him.
A nearly faultless race.
Yeah, but the only worst thing beyond losing your engine in a race is losing it after 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, 2 hours 40,
but he does get the point, so it's not like the effort was in vain.
Yeah.
So.
Well, indeed, but it'll still be a hard pill to swallow. I think he may even get 2 points because I'm not sure Rocha will be able to pass him in time.
Rocha is 3 laps down, so could be able to make it.
Yeah, but we're on lap 95, so.
True. They'll do it. Final lap. Well, let's see. Anders was
You can even
on...
score podium and all without finishing?
Yeah, true. You can.
Yeah. All right.
Well, Anders retired on lap 90... What was it? 94.
Then
Luciano
he will be
is
fifth
now on
indeed.
lap 91.
Yeah, he'll be able to do enough
4
laps.
more to go. Because David Jake still has 4 more laps to do, so if Luciano keeps it out of the barriers, I mean,
And that means Canola in the old complete brain fade. Maserati, thank you. Will most likely be picking up second in this race. And the most unlikely of candidates in terms of the car engine chassis combination.
Well, I don't think Canola is any unexpected combination, so to speak.
No, the driver is expected, but the car is not.
But I mean, if you can throw anything at him. If he races alone, doesn't need to bang wheels or take any risks, then you know he's going to make it steady there to the end. So he knows how to take care of equipment and all that. We mentioned it at the beginning of the race. He was a dark horse.
Coming up now to lap his teammate one more time.
like that to be the final time.
Probably.
Shifting not even at 5,000 RPM. I mean, that's really like taking it easy, as it should be. What would be the point in risking anything, of course?
Indeed.
So is the quickest lap of the race so far also in the hands of David Jakes?
Yes, it still is.
Yeah, well, of course.
By a
I mean,
considerable margin.
I don't think anybody's going to go for that one now.
No, but I mean, obviously he has been here all the race, and he's now enjoying the benefits of low fuel. So at some point he had the chance to do that, the hot lap.
Yeah, his fastest lap is 140.224. Looking at the list, the only other driver to lap in a 140 bracket is, surprise, surprise, Lewis Stevens. Or wait, hang on a minute. Yes, Lewis Stevens, 140.934. And that must have been very early on.
Yeah, I think he did that after 5 or 6 laps. I suppose in a way one Swede retires, but another Swede is, as long as they can complete one more lap, I think it is, they will be getting a podium in the form of Simon Wattman. Which in of itself is an amazing achievement for him.
Now that's going to hurt for Luciano Rocha. Because after all, I mean, 4 cars finishing and he's the 4th. It's like...
Well, he gets points.
I know, but it's so holding on till the end and then so close to a podium finish. Anyway. Oh, I'm getting a lot of lag.
I think it happens when it passes where the pits are, because there's so many cars in the garage now, so...
Yeah, which is off to the lower left of the gasworks hairpin, so...
Yeah.
God, how long did they do this 100 lap format?
That's a very good question, actually. I don't know. But that's Vatman up into third and Canola into second.
Well, I'll have a look at it, how long that lasted. Can't have been very long.
So, lap 98 for Jakes.
It was shortened to 80 laps in 1968.
Ah, there you go.
Wow, quite a while still they kept this format though.
99 now. So, I mean, what goes through your head right now? After all this time, it's like, oh, please, 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 no.
Yep.
Let it stick.
At this point, he's ahead of Canola by 3 laps. He has no incentive to try anything crazy. Just get the car to the end.
Yeah, he's fighting his own car. That the only thing that can let him down right now is his very own car.
Indeed. It looks like he is really taking it easy on this final lap.
All right.
Yep.
One more time through the tunnel.
And one
the
more time.
treacherous chicane.
Yeah, one more time through
And
the scariest
Luciano
parts.
Rocha has now officially taken 4 for Anders Nielsen.
Yeah. Just with 1 lap to go. Very well timed for him.
And that's the last time he has to deal with that chicane.
So
Sure
now
he's
it should
happy
be
about that.
now it should be safe with 1 more turn to go. Here comes David Yates through the final turn and onto the start-finish straight, and a win here. 100 laps later, David Yates wins the race in the Lotus 12.
And Simon Watman crossed the line right behind him.
So 2 Lotus finishes, both on the podium. Fantastic.
Luciano finished race 2.
Yep, in 4th, and Canola, the last car to get round, about third of a lap to go, I suppose. Half, maybe even, yeah.
And Jake's being an Indianapolis 500 winner, I think this puts him in the situation that if we organize someone a 24-hour of Le Mans, he's the only one with a chance of hitting the Triple Crown, right?
Quite.
Well, we have no plans for that.
Yet.
So far.
I wonder how the royal family feels about burnouts like this.
Well,
no, his engine builder feels about burnouts.
Quite. And here comes Canola to cross the finish line too, as we have the synchronized.
I think that Jakes is taking revenge on the car, like saying, let's see how much engine life was there.
True, yeah.
Still.
Well, looks like it was enough.
Yeah, quite a bit of it, to be sure.
Well.
Oh dear.
Oh, that's a bit rough. And, well, I can now confirm this puts David in the lead of the championship with 9 points.
Well, Yates winner,
Rocha's
Canola second,
goes there.
Vatman third, and Luciano Rocha fourth. Wow, wow, wow. With a hefty retiree list of Anders Nielsen, Del Piccolo, Yannick, Hackman, Watering, Helle, Jonsson, Riddall, Drexler, Chacon, Michiels, Tim, Fredriksson, Amaral, Stevens, Saber, Fernandez, Bose, and Remen.
It's gonna be one busy tip-top bar.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I just hope they were not expecting to have a bath in the pool to relax.
They probably didn't.
No, as long as they
Wow.
didn't jump head first there. But yeah, it was a quite interesting race.
2 hours 51.06 to win the race. Oi, 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 oi. I think that's I think that's a clear winner of the longest race of the year, right?
Maybe.
Well, I
Maybe.
suppose the Indy 500 could go longer. We'll have to wait and see.
It could.
Well, it's a bit late here. It was a fun broadcast. Always happy to be here with you guys in the booth. And I'll see you next time as I have to leave now.
Yep,
I'm going to sign off as well. Take care, guys.
Righty, thank you
Take
for
care.
joining us.
Yep.
User disconnected from your channel. Channel created.
So let's see if I can see David
User joined your
Yates
channel.
up above. We'll give him a little bit of time to see if he will be joining us for some post-race interviews. I suppose while we wait, I can understand that you would be frustrated, but I suppose in a way also happy that it happened as early as it did, so you didn't have to live through the pain of the engine blowing late in the race.
I did. Better to have it on lap 10 or lap 5 than lap 29 or even worse. I mean, I spent 20 minutes in the race. I didn't expect it to finish anyway. This is a really hard track, and credit to the guys who have finished. That's a big effort. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. And it's sort of amazing that some of the drivers that we saw actually being careful to the car still ended up not finishing the race. But we are now joined by our top 2 finishers. So I suppose first and foremost, congratulations, David. That's you, the championship leader now, with that win and fastest lap. And
well, hopefully I can get a ride for some of the other races.
There's a full-time car going up soon.
I will keep my eye out.
So 2 hours 51 minutes 0.6 seconds. Longest race you've done in a single sitting? Question mark.
Longest race, yes. I don't know if it's the longest stint, but certainly the longest race that I've done solo.
And I'd assume tired overall from that Monaco. A lot of stuff going on around you, and these cars look quite tricky overall with when the tires, especially when the tires started to go.
Yeah, it's just trying to take it easy the whole time, trying to take it easy on the engine, keep the revs down, keep the temps down. It's never a calm moment.
And we were discussing that during the race as well. The fact that there is really no place to rest around this place. Did you find any place where you could have at least a few seconds off, or was it always full concentration on?
Well, compared to the heart attack going through that chicane every lap, the rest of the lap was great. But really no point to rest. Just trying to manage everything the whole time. Try to take it as easy as possible.
And that's very understandable. And
rear was definitely getting very light at times toward the end there. Even taking it easy, he was trying to walk away. So I was like, oh boy, just stay back there. Don't come in front of me. That's bad. If the rear's in front of the front.
Yeah, for sure. That's a brown trouser moment, for sure.
There were a couple.
Don't think you had a battle as such during the race, but I suppose in a different way. Say that you get a ride for Zandvoort next time out. How do you rate driving these cars around that high-speed turning track?
Well, I like them at the first track of the year. The sweep and turns, you really get a good appreciation of the cars. Here it's so tight and twisty. It's just trying to hang on. But no, like from a overall race, the only battles were probably at the beginning. Screwed up at the start there, so was back a little. Had to fight back through a little bit. But probably the biggest gotcha moment was right around halfway. There was a car backwards coming out of current
indeed.
turn one.
I
turn
think
two.
that was
Luciano
Rocha, was it?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we get through there, but but we did, so thank goodness.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us for the post-race chat here, David, and congratulations on your win.
Well, thank you for the marathon broadcast. I'm sure it's a long one for you guys too, so thank you.
Well, luckily we had 4 guys in the end in the broadcast booth, so it was a nice ride for us as well, overall. Also, congratulations to you, Thiago, for getting second place here. I suppose before the race that was something you were hoping for, but maybe not expecting.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, I wasn't hoping for anything actually. I was just hoping to finish the race. I knew I had no chance to fight for the top spots. The car, the equipment wasn't like up to the to the quality of the top guys in front, and I had to just to deal with it and just stay there, keep the car to the end, and see if some people would probably overdrive their cars and break them. That's pretty much to summarize my race. It was just like a patience race for me. And that chicane is a heart attack for sure every lap. And I had a lapse of like just a very small moment that I think I lost the concentration. And I hit the barrier on the outside, and I damaged my car. It was like lap 16, and I started to think, okay, if it happened already, lap 16, I don't think I'm gonna finish this one.
Understandable sentiment, but finish it you did, and on the podium even. Was that your one sort of like brown moment, or did you actually experience more such incidents?
No, I think that was the only one. There were like some cars like spinning at the same place sometimes, but yeah, it was I could notice like if I saw like the yellow flag, I would just slow down immediately and just take it easy, and there wasn't any need for any urgent reaction, avoidance, to the other guys. But yeah, the only brown moment I had, I caused it myself.
Yeah, we did notice you were clearly taking it easy because you would let people by. We saw others who were racing a little bit harder than that, shall we say. Looking at Solder next time out, fast sweeping corners. How do you rate the Maserati of yours going there?
You mean Zandvoort?
Oh, yeah, Zandvoort, not Solder. It's been a long race and a long day.
Yeah.
I was getting excited.
Yeah, I think it would be much worse than Monaco, because in these races, the track, Zandvoort is much more forgiving for the drivers than Monaco, I guess, and it will be pretty much the same as happened to me in Argentina. Where I tried my my best there. I had no mistakes at all in that race, and I finished in 12th. So I'm not very hopeful for this one.
That's a fair call, but just like here, you never know quite what will happen, so possibility is always there, but I can understand going in there with trepidation, shall we say.
Yeah, I'll have to rely on the other people, problems, the whole race to make, positions. So that's how it's going to be for me.
Fair enough. Thank you to you too, Tiago, for joining us for the post-race chats here. And congratulations once again on a podium finish here at Monaco. And also, while he isn't here, big congratulations to both Luciano Rocha and Simon Wattmann, who's got the final podium spot in the second Lotus, which was for both of them amazing drives as well, and to Anders Nilsson for scoring the final points in this race. Ewa, any final thoughts for you on this race as such, or event?
Well, congratulations to everybody who finished. Really impressive. And I hope we can be among them the next time.
That's a fair call as well, and I suppose quickly your thoughts on Sanford next time, if you have any anticipations or thoughts on going to.
Are you asking that to me or to
you,
drivers? Yeah. Well, I hope to be competitive. At least it's one track which sort of suits the car, so hope it'll work. We'll see. Practice and hope it lasts longer than today.
It probably will. It probably will. So yeah, with that, and 3 hours 10 minutes later, thank you everyone for tuning in and sticking with us for this endurance event as it turned out to be and was expected to be honest. And I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed broadcasting it and watching the race and talking about the race. But until 2 weekends from now, on the 6th of March, when Jason will be back in the booth with the Nordschleife event in the DRM series. Take care, everyone. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks' time. Good night, everyone.